Chapter 1334. When the youth sees Mayan looking at him like this, his face turns slightly red, embarrassed and blushing. There was also a hint of joy on his face. He handed over some of the spirit fruits in his hand and eagerly looked at Mu Yin. "Big sister, do you want some?" Mu Yin took the spirit fruit and took a bite. It was sweet, juicy, and rich in spiritual energy. She couldn't help but praise it. The young man immediately looked as if he had obtained some incredible treasure, and his eyebrows and eyes curved into crescents. The mole under her left eye was also faintly discernible. Mu Yin sees that he's wholeheartedly holding the spirit fruits for her to eat, but she herself hasn't eaten a single one. She can't help but ask, "Why aren't you eating?" Hearing this, the young man's face showed a trace of sadness. Then, he smiled lightly and took out a fasting pill from his bosom. "I'll just eat this." Mu Yin suddenly understands. Because the young man's body wasn't good, there were many spirit foods that he couldn't eat. He could only eat relatively pure fasting pills without any impurities. Mu Yin takes the pills of fasting from his hand and takes out a few from the space to give them to him. The youth doesn't even think about it and stuffs the fasting pill that Mu Yin gave him into his mouth. They were clearly both pills, but his fasting pill only had a bitter taste and a feeling of fullness that made one unable to feel happy. But when Mayan puts the elixir into her mouth, a strange taste explodes on the tip of her tongue. The feeling of his taste buds and stomach being filled together made the young man smile. Then he suddenly opened his eyes wide. "It's so delicious. I've never eaten such a delicious fasting pill before." Mu Yin couldn't help but push his forehead. "You're so careless. How did you survive until now? You didn't even check to see if there was any poison in the pill given to you by others and just ate it so casually?" "But this was given to me by little Missy." The youth's eyes curved into a beautiful smile. "Of course Missy wouldn't harm me." As he spoke, he carefully put away the pill. On the third day, Mu Yin finally gathered all the spirit herbs required for the Dragonfire Dan. The snow spirit tiger was also sent back to its mother. She also wanted to bid farewell to the youth. The youth's face, which had been in high spirits yesterday, was now only left with loneliness and reluctance. He grabbed the corner of Mu Yin's clothes and looked straight at her. "Little sister, can I know your name?" When he said this, the young man's tone was very perturbed and full of anticipation. It was like a pitiful little beast that was about to be abandoned by someone. Mu Yin couldn't help but smile, looking at the youth with a very gentle gaze. She didn't think she was a good person. However, she had a very good impression of this naive and innocent youth. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, such people were rare. "I'm June Mayan. June Mayan." The youth repeated the 3 words on the tip of his tongue a few times before he laughed. "It's really nice. No wonder it's little sister's name. Mayan has black lines. Is this child always so naive and sweet when praising people's? Big sister, can I know where you live? Can I look for you in the future?" Mayan smiled and said, "I'm in the Starry School. I'm afraid outsiders can't enter the school as they please. If fate allows it, we will meet again." After saying that, he turned around and left. "Sister, I'm Suzy. I'll definitely go to the Starry School to find you." Chapter 1335. However, Mayan didn't expect that she would meet the youngster she had just met in the afternoon when she returned to the Yawang branch. Suzy. In the evening, a flying boat landed at the Alcade branch. The Tianshu branch college chief, Meng Baichuan, got off the boat and glanced at the 7 people from the Xiaorao sect. "Chief Meng, what brings you to the Alcade branch?" Yun Ruhan hurried forward to greet him, but her eyes were filled with caution. Could this college chief be here to find trouble with the Alcade branch again? Meng Baichuan looked around and saw that the area was vast, but there were not many people. Then he thought about how such a rundown place was occupied by 2 top tutors, Luo Yunxiao and Tutor Mo. He was so angry that he wanted to beat his chest and stamp his feet. What a reckless waste of natural resources. What a reckless waste of natural resources. Such excellent tutors should be given to the Tianshu branch. He coughed softly and said with a sullen face, "Today, the exchange students from Linwu and Fengtian came to study at the Starry School. One of them chose the Alcade branch. In the future, you must get along well with this cultivator. Don't embarrass the Starry School. As he spoke, a person walked down from the flying boat. A moon-white robe wrapped around his somewhat thin and weak body. His handsome and pale face immediately blossomed into a brilliant smile upon seeing Mu Yin. "Little big sister, I finally see you again." He ran in front of Mu Yin with large strides, as if he wanted to reach out and grab her clothes, but he was afraid of profaning them. He was at a loss as to what to do, but he couldn't hide his smile. "Suzy," Mu Yin looked at the young man in front of her in surprise. "Why are you here?" Suzy smiled embarrassedly. "Sister, I didn't expect such a coincidence. I'm an exchange student from the Fengtian school. I heard that you're in the Alcade branch, so I came over. I didn't tell you in the Danyang mountain range because I wanted to give you a surprise. Sister, you won't blame me, right?" Meng Baichuan snorted, waved his sleeves, and left on the flying boat. Who knew what was wrong with these people? They didn't want to stay in the Tianshu branch and came to the Alcade branch, a place where even birds wouldn't poop. After Meng Baichuan left, Yun Ruhan and the others immediately surrounded him. "Junior sister, do you know this kid?" Lung Yuma pulled Mu Yin to her side and glared at Suzy with an unfriendly expression. "Brat, who are you? Why are you pestering my junior sister? You even came to the Alcade branch. Tell me, what do you want?" Luo Yu hugged Mu Yan's hand and stared at Suzy warily. "Why are you calling me little sister so intimately? This is my sixth senior sister, not yours." Mayan laughs in spite of herself and pokes Luo Yu's forehead. Suzy didn't even bat an eyelid at their questions. Instead, he revealed a clear and bashful smile. "Senior brothers and senior sisters, my name is Suzy, and I'm from the Phoenix Sky Academy. A few days ago, I was being pursued by the Firecloud Unicorn in the Pilyang mountain range. Fortunately, Little Big Sister saved me. Little Big Sister is my savior. You are Little Big Sister senior brothers and junior brothers, which means you are my senior brothers and senior sisters. Please take care of me in the future." Lung Yuma was about to say, "Who wants to take care of you?" Suzy took out a chinquan bag from his waist, opened it, and began to pour things onto the ground. Chapter 1336. There are low-grade crystals inside, but most of them are middle-grade crystals. The people of the Xiao Yao school are stunned. Suzy smiles even more kindly and warmly. "These are my show of filial piety to senior brothers and sisters. I hope you don't mind." "We don't mind, we don't mind." Luo Yu pounces on the crystal hill, so excited that she wants to roll around inside. We're rich, sixth sister. We're rich again." Lung Yuma tries her best to keep a straight face. "Don't think that using crystals to bribe us." Suzy takes out another chinquan bag. This time, all of them are 6th rank and above spirit tools, including Lung Yuma's favorite long blade. Even the painting tools that Chu Moli is interested in, he has prepared a set of extremely luxurious ones. This time, even Lung Yuma can't keep her cold face, holding the long blade with great interest. Mu Yin disapprovingly looks at Suzy. "Why are you giving so many things?" Suzy doesn't care, but they are all little sister's important brothers and sisters. I want to leave a good impression on little sister's family. Moreover, I have to stay in the Yao Guang branch, which is already very bothersome. If giving something can make everyone happy, wouldn't that be great? Mu Yin looks at his simple and innocent smile and can't help but shake her head. This kid is really too naive and sweet. Back in the room, Mu Yin immediately starts to refine the Dragon Fire Pill. Although the Dragon Fire Pill's recipe is very complicated, and the required spirit herbs are very rare, but the method of refining is very simple. Mu Yin only spent an hour to refine 3 of them. But when she turns her head, she finds Qi Huang, who just a few days ago was urging her to quickly refine pills as if his but was on fire. But he's in a trance at the side. He doesn't even know that she has already refined the Dragon Fire Pill. "Qi Huang, open your mouth." Hearing Mu Yan's voice, Qi Huang instinctively opens his mouth. A pill is immediately stuffed into his mouth. Ba ba ba. Jun Mu Yin, what did you give this sage to eat? Mayan gloomily looks at him. I worked hard in the Danyang mountain range for 2 days, and even spent all my spar to refine these 3 pills. Spit them out for me and see. This is a dragon fire pill? Qi Huang's eyes darted around in embarrassment as he swallowed the pill in his mouth. As the dragon fire pill entered his body, he felt that his originally powerless divine soul seemed to have solidified a lot. However, what makes Mu Yin feel strange is Qi Huang, who would usually pester her to spend more time with her in the space. But today, he anxiously urged her to go back and rest. Mine looks at him suspiciously. Qi Xiaowang, what are you up to? Qi Huang looked at the sky and the earth, but he didn't look at her, his eyes darting around. In the end, she angrily says out of humiliation, this deity is a dignified ancient artifact spirit. Do I still need to report to you what I want to do? Jun Mayan, don't think that just because you're the master of the Tian Mo Qin, you can control this deity. Mu Yin couldn't find any clues, so she had to leave the space and return to her room to rest. Who would have thought that in the middle of the night, Mayan would feel a gaze firmly locked on her in a daze? She abruptly awakens from her sleep. As soon as she opens her eyes, she finds a figure standing at the head of her bed, motionless. No matter how calm Mayan is, she's still startled by this scene. She promptly sits up on the bed. When she sees the person clearly, she can't help but frown. Suzy, what are you doing? Chapter 1337. Her face is unsightly, and her heart faintly raises a bit of vigilance. It's the middle of the night. What are you doing in my room instead of sleeping? Tonight Suzy always makes her feel very strange. Those clear eyes stare straight at her, but they don't have the innocence of a fawn, instead revealing a bit of evil. Mu Yan's hands are already slightly clenched, ready to take out the Tian Mo Qin at any time. How did you get into my room without being discovered? Could it be that she really made a mistake? Not only is Suzy not simple, he's not silly, but he's also a hidden expert? Hearing Mu Yan's question, Suzy suddenly hooks up his lips, revealing a smug and evil smile. Jun Mu Yin, isn't it easy for this sage to get close to you? What's so great about entering your room without being discovered? Even if Ben Jun were to crawl into the same bed with you, you wouldn't be able to find out. Do you believe me? This familiar tone, this tone is asking for a beating. Mu Yin suddenly widens her eyes, looking at Suzy in disbelief, and almost blurts out, Qi Huang, how is it? Seeing this sage come out and have a real body, aren't you very happy? Qi Huang proudly opens his hands and spins in a circle. Aren't you surprised? Aren't you? Surprise your head. There's a basket full of surprises? Mu Yan's face is unsightly. Qi Xiaohuang, you wouldn't have taken over Suzy's body, would you? Get out of someone else's body right now. I won't. Qi Huang refuses without hesitation. It wasn't easy for this sage to have a body. Why would I come out? Saying that, he reaches out and hugs Mu Yin, pressing her hard against his chest. You see, it feels different to hug you with a real body. Warm, real, soft. It's something he hasn't really touched in 10,000 years. Mu Yin presses the blue veins on her forehead and kicks him away. How could you have Suzy's body? How is he now? Qi Huang's face is foul, and he coldly snorts, Suzy, we've only known each other for 2 days, and you're already calling me so intimately. Jun Mu Yin, did you change your affections and don't like Di Mingju and the pretty boy anymore? And like this little chicken? Qi Xiaowang. The corner of Mayan's mouth slightly hooks up. The sinister expression on her face turns into a gentle and demonic charm. Do you really miss the itchy meat combo? In the face of such a smile, not only did Seven Brilliance not feel amazed, but exquisite even shuddered. Okay, I'm not taking over your body. I'm just borrowing Newbie's body for a while. Don't worry, I'll return it to him tomorrow. You're a fickle woman who likes the new and gets tired of the old. You're even nicer to this little weakling than you are to me. Mu Yin directly filters out Qi Huang's confusing words and frowns. Temporarily borrow? Why can you borrow Suzy's body? No, she said. If Chi Huang could casually borrow someone else's body, the world would have been turned upside down by this brat. Chi Huang snorted. Newbie has the purest mysterious Yin constitution, and her soul is only half compatible with her original body. So, of course, I can temporarily squeeze out the half of his soul that is not compatible with it and control his body. Did Suzy agree? You're so annoying. I'm telling you, none of this is important. Chapter 1338. The important thing is naturally that I've come out. Moreover, I can openly appear in front of people, and no one will recognize me. Right now, I want to go eat, drink, and be merry, and experience this world of sensual pleasures. Mayan lies down on the bed, waving her hand like she's swatting a fly. Go. Remember to return the body to Suzy in the morning. If you really dare to take over someone else's body, don't blame me for being impolite. Who would have thought that Chi Huang would step forward and drag her up, firmly imprisoning her in his arms, not letting her leave? No, you have to accompany me to see the world of sensual pleasures? Why? Mayan leans at him. Chi Huang stares blankly, seemingly at a loss for a moment, not knowing how to answer. After a long while, he angrily says, I don't care in any case. I'm going to see the world of sensual pleasures. It doesn't matter where I go, you have to accompany me. If you're not by my side, even if the world is bustling and lively, what's the point? Jun Mayan, for so many years, I've never left the space of the Tian Mo Chin. Can't you accompany me to see the outside world? Mayan can't stand being pestered by this guy. Listening to his words, a faint sourness and heartache rises in her heart. For thousands of years, he had been trapped in this narrow space, all alone. That kind of loneliness, how could others be able to endure it? She sighs, taking out the men's clothes and changing them. I'm afraid of you. Say it. Where do you want to go? Xing Lang comes out of the treasure pavilion, his face foul. From time to time, he looks up at the sky, revealing a look of longing. Jun Shang and Han Yi have gone to the Xiuxin continent. Later, Evening may also return to the polar domain, leaving him here alone to protect that hateful woman. Xing Lang really wants to sell that woman to the depths of the earth and burn her to ashes in the magma. But he remembers what Han Yi said before he left. Xing Lang, if you don't want Jun Shang to never forgive you, then protect Miss Jun well. Ying Mei and I will leave, leaving you to guard Miss Jun. If you dare to harm Miss Jun in the slightest, you should know what will happen to you. But on the contrary, if this matter is done well, it can be considered as atonement. Jun Shang will know of your loyalty and will naturally not alienate you in the future. Star Wolf, you're so smart. You should know what to do. Offending the future mistress of the polar domain is something only a fool would do. Star Wolf gritted his teeth and comforted himself 100 times in his heart. I can't make Jun Shang angry. When Jun Shang dislikes this woman, I'll find her to settle the score. Only then did he feel a little better. But for him to take the initiative to go to Mayan's side to protect her, there's no way. It's just that if this woman really does encounter danger and calls for help, in order to win Jun Shang's trust, he can only reluctantly save her. Just as he was thinking this, Star Wolf suddenly saw a familiar figure in the distance. He rubbed his eyes, then rubbed his eyes again, and his pupils suddenly shrank. Not far away, in front of the bustling 10,000 flower tower, two incomparably handsome youths walked in. The two of them were very close to each other, and the tall youth would even put his hand on the skinny youth's shoulder from time to time. The two of them were intimately intimate with each other, but when Star Wolf saw this scene, his eyes were about to pop out, and his lungs were about to explode. That was Jun Mayan. That petite and delicate youth with a devastatingly beautiful appearance is actually Jun Mayan. Chapter 1339. It's fine that she hooked up with Ying Mei, but now she's actually pulling a man in public ambiguous. This slut, is she trying to make Jun Shang wear a green hat? Seven Brilliants arrogantly entered 10,000 Flower House. In the end, he grabs his lapel and flees in embarrassment. Mu Yin looks at his flushed face, ashamed, indignant, and panic-stricken appearance. She laughs so hard that her stomach hurts. Oh my God! Why is Qi Xiao Wang so cute? He looks like he's #1 in the world and has sailed thousands of ships. In the end, she just takes him to a brothel. At first, he's still arrogant and casual. When the girls of Wanhua Lu see Qi Huang and Mu Yan's elegant and handsome appearance, they naturally rush over like flies seeing blood. As a result, Qi Huang, who was still an experienced playboy a moment ago, is scared out of his wits. Like seeing a ghost, he grabs Mu Yan's hand and runs away. From time to time, the girls' dispiriting curses can be heard from behind. Say, 2 gay men coming to visit a brothel, wasting this old lady's feelings. Mu Yan laughs for a long time without stopping. Qi Huang finally can't bear it anymore and glares at her. Jun Mu Yan, if you laugh again, believe it or not, this sage will tear your mouth apart. Saying that, he makes a gesture to pinch Mu Yan's face. Mu Yan laughs and easily dodges. Respected Lord Qi Huang, didn't you say that you've lived for 10,000 years, and there's nothing you haven't seen? The girls were so enthusiastic just now. Why don't you enjoy it? Seeing Qi Huang's flushed face, she stops teasing him. Let's go. Didn't you say you want to see the world of flowers? Cough. Although you won't be able to see the brothel, other things are still okay. Qi Huang snorts coldly, and then follows with a proud and cold face. This time, Mu Yan takes him to the 1,000 Gold Casino. With the strength of the two, they naturally win one round after another. Qi Huang is having fun, and even scourges every table in the casino. In the end, even the boss and the thugs of the casino are alarmed. They're directly thrown out. Qi Huang wants to get angry. However, the owner of the casino kept bowing to them and begging for mercy. Immortals, our casino only serves mortals. It's a small business, and we really can't afford cultivators like you. Please be magnanimous and spare my store. Qi Huang is addicted to gambling and refuses to give up, but he is dragged away by Mayan. Jun Mayan, let go. Who allowed you to treat me like this? Mayan gives him a sidelong glance. Eating, drinking, whoring, and gambling. You've only seen whoring and gambling. Now big sister will take you to taste delicious food. Qi Huang stomped her feet in anger. Little girl, who do you call sister? This supreme one is an ancient artifact spirit. Yes, an ancient artifact spirit that escaped from a brothel. The two of them walked to the nearest restaurant while thinking. Suddenly, Seven Brilliance stopped in his tracks and looked in one direction. At first, he was puzzled. Then, as if he had thought of something, he moved a little closer to Mayan. Sensing that the gaze behind him was getting colder and colder, the corner of Qi Huang's mouth slowly curled up into an evil smile. His eyes shone with a mischievous glint. The two of them played until the sun was setting in the west. Under Mayan's repeated urging, Qi Huang gnawed on a drumstick and reluctantly returned to the Yaoguang branch. She saw him on the flying boat, still reluctant to part from the market. Chapter 1340. Qi Huang thought about it and said in a daze, I didn't know that people are like this. They were lively, full of bitterness and sweetness, selfish and greedy, but also colorful. In the past, he had always thought that being human was an original sin. All the humans in the world. He wished for nothing more than to kill all of them. But he didn't know when it started. As he spent more time with Mu Yan, the hatred and disgust in his heart slowly faded. He clearly did not understand what loneliness was, but after just one day, he actually felt a sense of melancholy at the thought of returning to that quiet space. Qi Huang's expression stiffened, and a faint trace of fear and confusion flashed across his eyes. In the next moment, his face suddenly turned pale. His body swayed, and he fell straight down. Qi Huang. Mu Yan rushes over and supports him. Qi Huang, what's wrong? However, the face of the youth in her arms was deathly pale. His long eyelashes drooped, and he had completely fainted. Mu Yan's heart clenches tightly. Suddenly, he heard Qi Huang's flustered and exasperated voice. Why is this kid's body so weak? It's only been a few hours, and you can't hold on anymore. Weakling, weakling, weakling. Mayan stares blankly for a moment before immediately reacting. She grasped Su Zi's wrist. Sure enough, he found that Su Zi's body had become much weaker, and his heart and lungs had relapsed. His lips and nails were cyanotic. Mu Yin had no time to reprimand Qi Huang for not caring about Su Zi's life and death. She quickly took out her silver needles and pierced them into the acupoints around the heart meridian one by one. Then, he takes out the Tian Mo Chin and plucks the strings. Different from the previous zither sounds, the zither sounds this time were deep and solemn, compassionate and holy. It was like the sound of Sanskrit. However, Seven Brilliance's expression changed. Because Mu Yin was using the Shun musicians' benevolence of the saints. The so-called benevolence of a saint was to transfer the qi of heaven and earth and one's own qi to a dying person. After Mu Yin mastered this skill, she had only used it twice. The first time was when he pulled the dying by I Ching back from the gates of hell. The second time was when he used the heavenly body tier to save the heavily injured Yin Hao Yin. This was because the benevolence technique of the saint consumed too much of her body. Moreover, if they were not careful, they might cause irreparable damage. But at this moment, Mu Yin actually used the saint's benevolence technique for the sake of this kid she met by chance. Jun Mayan, are you a fool? It's fine if it's for by I Ching and Yin Hao Yin. But who is this kid? Is he worthy of you using the benevolence saint technique? Mayan doesn't answer. Instead, she plays the Tian Mo Chin with an expressionless face. As the life force continued to flow into Su Zi's body, his pale face gradually turned red. On the other hand, Mayan's complexion turns pale little by little, fine beads of sweat seeping out of her forehead. She slowly stopped playing and wiped the sweat off her forehead. Qi Huang, I don't care how much you hate humans or how much you don't care about the lives and deaths of humans, but you can't do anything to me. But I hope that your hands will not be stained with any lives or blood. Only then will I be able to release you from that narrow cage one day and let you walk openly under the sun. Qi Huang, do you believe that I can do it? Qi Huang stares blankly, his eyes suddenly widening. There's a roar in his ears, as if there's only one sentence left. Qi Huang, do you believe that I can do it? Chapter 1341. Qi Huang blankly sits on the grass in the space. Suddenly, he turns over and buries his whole face in the fragrance of the grass. Faintly, his muffled but joyful and shy voice can be heard. Ju Mayan, idiot. Why are you so stupid? He's obviously just a tool spirit that hates humans, an evildoer in the eyes of others. Why is this woman afraid of his hands being stained with blood? Why is she so obsessed with letting him walk under the sun? Mayan plays the echo sound again to replenish the spiritual power in her body. Then she seriously warns Qi Huang. Su Zi's heart and lungs are weak. He can't withstand two souls and you messing around. So before I cure his heart disease, you're not allowed to have sex with him. Do you hear me? Still burying his face in the grass, Qi Huang makes a muffled sound. After a long time, he raises his head. A few strands of his smooth black hair are slightly curled up, and there are a few pieces of grass on them, making him look less evil, but more adorable and cute. He purses his lips, takes the spirit-peering chess, and carefully begins to play. Even though the space was still quiet, he no longer had the melancholy and desolation from before. Mayan pulls out all the silver needles from Su Zi's body and feeds him an elixir. Su Zi's eyelashes tremble, and he slowly awakens. Sister? Seeing Mu Yin, he first smiled, as if he was very happy. I actually dreamed of little big sister. What a beautiful dream. When he realizes that it's not a dream, he is still on the flying boat. He can't help but show a confused and surprised expression. What's going on? I was clearly sleeping in the room? Sister, why am I here? Mayan feels guilty and quickly helps him up, saying softly, How do you feel? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Su Zi presses his chest, and then immediately shows a surprised expression. My hands and feet are a little sore and weak, but my heart feels very comfortable, even more comfortable than when you treated me last time. Sister, what's wrong? Did I sleepwalk and wander outside in a daze? Did you save me again? Su Zi's eyes were sparkling, and his face was filled with gratitude and trust towards Mu Yin. Facing such clear and bright eyes, Mu Yin suddenly has a headache. If she could, she really wanted to follow Su Zi's words. This way, there would naturally be less trouble and hidden worries. However, after a moment of silence, she said, Z, I want to apologize to you. Apologize? Su Zi blinked in confusion. Why would Missy apologize to me? But no matter what you did, I won't blame you. Mu Yin couldn't help but smile. The reason you're here is not because you're sleepwalking, but because the soul of one of my spirit pets has taken over your body and used your body to play outside for a day. Qi Huang's flustered and exasperated voice came from the space. What kind of spirit pet are you? I'm an artifact spirit, an ancient artifact spirit. Mu Yin ignored him and stared straight into Su Zi's eyes, unflinching. Although she had only known Su Zi for a short time. However, she had a good impression of this young man with clear eyes and did not want to deceive him. Chapter 1342. In fact, any normal person would feel fear and loathing when they hear that their body has been occupied by someone else. Su Zi is a little dazed, seemingly unable to come back to his senses. But not long after, he can't help but raise the corner of his lips, revealing an adorable smile. Big sister, do you have a spiritual pet? What does it look like? Is it cute or majestic? Or is it as beautiful as you, big sister? Mu Yan's expression stiffens for a moment. Then she says somewhat weakly, Su Zi, aren't you afraid? My spiritual pet has taken over your body. Perhaps if it was a little more overbearing, it would directly take over your body, which would be equivalent to taking your life. Shouldn't ordinary people be flustered and exasperated at this time? Furious and mad? Su Zi shakes his head without hesitation. It's okay. I know that big sister won't harm me, and your spiritual pet naturally won't harm me either. Mu Yin holds her forehead. Can this guy be any more silly and sweet? Even if it won't harm you, it will weaken your body, and even worsen your condition. Didn't you faint just now? But Su Zi looked at her steadily, his eyes full of trust. But big sister, you've cured me too. Moreover, the reason I fainted is because my body isn't good. I used to faint often before. It has nothing to do with this humble one. I feel very happy to be able to help big sister. Mu Yin looks at his pale face, the bright smile blooming without any ill feelings, and her heart is a little sour for a moment. She suddenly smiles softly. In the future, my spiritual pet may borrow your body. He has been trapped in a place for a long time. I want to let him see the outside world. It's okay. Big sister can borrow my body at will, Su Zi quickly says. Immediately, his brows suddenly dim, and his tone is a little lonely. However, I really envy big sister's spiritual pet. Even if it's just a spiritual pet and doesn't have a body, big sister is so good to it. Raising his head, the youngster once again hangs a clean and clear smile on his face. Big sister, let your spiritual pet borrow my body now. Mu Yin shakes her head. Not now. Before I cure your illness, it won't borrow your body again. Su Zi was taken aback for a moment. Then he smiled bitterly and said, Little sister, my illness is incurable. The Ziyun Realm's divine doctor once diagnosed me, but he said that my illness is incurable, and I won't live past the age of 20. Su Zi's long eyelashes drooped as he uttered the last sentence, suppressing the surging emotions in his eyes. Then he raised his head and revealed a cheerful and optimistic smile. However, to be able to meet little Missy before I die, I'm all ready. If I say I can cure your illness, then I can cure it. Mu Yin resolutely interrupted him. If I say you can live, then you can live. She stared into the young man's eyes. Su Zi, are you willing to trust me and let me treat your illness? Su Zi's body trembled. Trust you? For some reason, he suddenly lost control of his emotions, and his clear voice became hoarse and hurried. Believe you, and then one day announce my death sentence? Believe you, and then when I'm full of hope, you'll give up on me? Suzy's current appearance was completely different from his usual innocent and cheerful appearance. Chapter 1343. There's a warm smile in her eyes. Yes, believe me, as a patient, believe me as a doctor. She says word by word, as long as there is a glimmer of hope, I will try my best to cure you. I promise, as long as you don't give up the hope of survival, I will never abandon you first. Until one day, when your illness is completely cured. Suzy's lips trembled slightly as he stared fixedly at her. His eyes were burning with a blazing flame, as if he was about to burst into flames, but also as if he wanted to engulf Mu Yin and incinerate her together. The flying boat slowly lands in Yao Guang Branch, and he doesn't notice it. Mine never moves her eyes away, looking at him calmly, without a trace of evasion or hesitation. Slowly, Suzy loosens his tightly clenched hands. He reaches out and slowly grabs Mayan's sleeve. A hoarse voice spills from his lips and teeth. Big sister, I want to live. I don't want to die. Mayan chuckles. I also don't want you to die. Otherwise, my spiritual pet will annoy me to death. Suzy shows a crying smile and finally grits his teeth. Okay, I believe you. Not that I believe you can cure me, but that you won't abandon me like those people did. Big sister, you must don't let me down. Mayan sends Suzy to his room and goes back. The candlelight flickers in the room, and Suzy stares blankly at the flickering flame. He's in a trance and doesn't move for a long time. Suddenly, there's a flash of light. The room is suddenly filled with a heavy and ruthless pressure. Suzy's body is weak, and under this pressure, there's a dull pain in his chest. He suddenly clutches his heart and looks up with a pale face. He sees that there's a person in front of him, a handsome man, but his eyebrows are sinister and cruel. Suzy's breath tightens, and his hand subconsciously presses on his waist. Who are you? How did this person appear? The door and windows of the room are not opened, and he didn't even hear any movement. But this person just appeared in front of him out of thin air. Xing Lang looks down at him, his eyes full of hatred and contempt, as well as full of disbelief. What kind of taste does that woman Mayan have? So be it if he fancied May. Now, he had actually taken a fancy to a little weakling who couldn't even lift a hand or carry a load. This kind of trash isn't even worthy of carrying Jun Shang's shoes. If he could, he really wished that he could dismember this woman, Jun Mayan, along with her lover, into 10,000 pieces. But thinking of Di Mingju's thunderous fury at that time, there's also Han Yi and Ing Mei's warning before they left. In that sentence, Jun Mayan is Ben Jun's wife, and also the future mistress of the polar domain. Whoever dares to be disrespectful to her is disrespectful to Ben Jun. The Star Wolf stopped in his tracks. His reverence and worship towards Di Mingju is deeply carved into his bones. Compared to Jun Mayan's displeasure, he's even more afraid of being disliked by Jun Shang forever, or even being driven out of the polar domain. Star Wolf took a deep breath. Therefore, he couldn't lay his hands on that woman. He could only come and teach this pretty boy who dared to seduce Jun Shang's woman a lesson. Chapter 1344. Suzy frowns. Why? You're not qualified to know why. Xing Lang takes out a red array disc and throws it in front of Suzy. Drip your blood on it, and swear that you will never come within 1 zhang of Jun Mayan. Otherwise, your blood will be in disorder and you will die. Suzy glares at him angrily. Why would I make such an oath? I like to be by little Jijia's side. Don't dream. I will never let go of this oath. You won't swear. Then go die now. As he speaks, Xing Lang's hand has already grasped the air. Suzy suddenly feels his neck tighten, and his whole body is lifted up, hanging high in the air. His whole body flushes red, his face full of pain, and he wants to pry open the shackles on his neck. But when his hand touches it, there's only air. Star Wolf made him struggle in the suffocating torture for a long time before letting him go, and said with a cold smile, You only have 2 choices. Either swear the curse now, or die for me right away. Suzy gasps for breath, his eyes red as he glares at Xing Lang. Then he looks at the array disc in front of him. Xinglang thinks he will swear. Suzy suddenly throws away the array disc, looking up to reveal a sarcastic smile. If you have the ability, then kill me. When the time comes, little Jie will definitely find you to settle accounts. You think I'm afraid of that woman, Junmai? Xinglang roars in anger. Suzy sees his reaction and becomes even more certain. The panic and uneasiness on his face completely disappears, and he once again changes back to that pure and innocent youth. If you really weren't afraid of little Jie, you wouldn't have come to me in secret and even made me swear the oath. Wouldn't it be better to just kill me and little Jie? The youth tilts his head, looking curious. You're not jealous that little Jie likes me and doesn't like you, are you? Shut up, who allowed you to talk nonsense? Xinglang almost instinctively roars. Junmayan is our Junshang's woman. Who allowed him to hook up outside and be fickle? Suzy stares blankly, his expression somewhat inexplicable. Then he can't help but laugh. So, in fact, you don't dare to kill me. Because you're afraid that if you really killed me, you would anger little Jie and offend your Junshang, right? Star Wolf was instantly speechless. He had never thought that he would be outmaneuvered by a weak and useless mortal. He took another deep breath and laughed sinisterly. I really won't kill you, but there are thousands of ways to torture you. Since you're not willing to swear the curse, then just wait for Junmayan to dislike you. Having said that, he raised his hand, and a powerful wave of spiritual energy surged out. Just as Suzy was about to resist, he felt dizzy and immediately fainted. Inside the space, inside the tower, Mayan is circling around the towering bookshelves. Qi Huang said in disdain, You've already spun around for a long time. This exalted one's eyes are getting dizzy from your spinning. Mayan snappily glances at him. Isn't it because you're useless? You're clearly the Tian Mo Qin's device spirit, the master of this space. Why is it that the fat rabbit can help me find the prescriptions for drafts, can help me find the perfect method for forging the body and fasting, but you can't find anything? What do I need you for? Chapter 1345. Oh, I can find it. Mu Yin crossed her arms over her chest. Then why don't you find a pill formula for me to see? These days, Mu Yin has been learning alchemy from Wu Yong. However, Wu Yong's alchemist level was not considered high, so even if he taught Mu Yin without hiding anything, what he taught was still limited. The pill recipes he could take out were the most ordinary ones, and there were very few of them. But Mu Yin is still very grateful to Wu Yong. Because of his careful guidance, Mayan has truly laid down a solid foundation and has also grasped the difference between alchemy in the Xiojin continent and the Yinwu continent. However, this couldn't go on. Whether it was her own research on elixirs or her desire to cure Suzy's injury, she needed the help of elixirs. That's why Mayan is in a hurry to find a Dan recipe that's similar to the classic of supreme drafts from the bookshelves in this tower. However, Qi Huang, who was still in high spirits just a moment ago, hears Mu Yan's request for him to find the pill formula. However, his eyes wandered and avoided her gaze. He even wanted to change the topic. Mu Yan smiled and said, I say, Qi Xiao Wang, if you really can't find it, I won't laugh at you. Why bother boasting? As expected, Qi Huang was immediately goaded into action. His face contorted for a moment before he finally gritted his teeth and said, I'll find it for you then. This sage will let you know who is the #1 king in this Tian Mo Qin space. Who is the fat rabbit? How could it compare to him? A dignified ancient artifact spirit. Mu Yin stares unblinkingly at Qi Huang, waiting to see how he will display his remarkable abilities and find the pill recipe he wants from the bookshelf. However, after waiting for a long time, 7 Brilliants still did not move. Just as Mu Yin is getting impatient from waiting, there seems to be a poochie sound in the air. Then the red-clothed, black-haired, bewitching young man disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by a chubby, fair and tender little doll that was only the size of 2 palms. Mine's expression freezes in a split second. The little doll was extremely adorable. It was wearing a red doo-doo, and half of its perky, white, and tender buttocks were exposed. It really made people want to hug him and give him 2 kisses. But such a cute little doll revealed an extremely ferocious and twisted expression. He glares unwaveringly at Mayan, gnashing his teeth as he says in a crisp, childish voice, "June Mayan, you dare to laugh. If you dare to laugh, I will destroy the entire book tower." Cough, 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 cough. Muyin coughed a few times before holding back her laughter. She tried her best to speak in a calm voice. Lord Qi Huang, will you be able to find a book like this?" 7 Brilliants snorted coldly and suddenly leaped onto one of the shelves. Then, with another leap, it rose more than 10 bars on the internet. Muyin raised her head and watched as the little figure soared higher and higher until it finally disappeared at the end of the tower. After making sure that Qi Huang can't see or hear, Muyin couldn't hold back anymore. She clutches her stomach and convulses with laughter. Damn, why was Qi Xiaowang so cute? Not long after, there was movement above the book tower, and a small figure jumped down. Mayan promptly stops laughing and wipes the tears from the corners of her eyes. She tries her best to make it so that no one can tell that she has laughed. But when she saw Qi Huang, she almost couldn't help but burst out laughing again. The little doll was holding 2 books, but those 2 books were as big as him. Chapter 1346. His little butt sticks up and down, and his plump, lotus-like legs bounce from time to time, making people want to go up and take a bite. Muyin lets out a laugh, but she quickly stifled it. At this time, Qi Huang has already leapt in front of her. He throws away the book in his hand and fiercely glares at Muyin. "Did you just laugh?" "No." Muyin has an innocent look. "I've been anxiously waiting for you to find a book for me." As she says that, she promptly picks up the ancient books on the ground. As soon as she sees the cover, she immediately smiles. These 2 ancient books are titled The Encyclopedia of Elementary Alchemy and The Perfect Gold Pill. They just happen to be what she needs the most right now. "Qi Huang, thank you." Muyin holds the books, her brows smiling. This time, it's sincere gratitude. These 2 ancient books are too important to me. Qi Huang proudly raises his chubby little face and humps. "Now do you admit that this sage is more powerful than that fat rabbit?" "Amazing, amazing! Our Lord Qi Huang is the most powerful." Muyin flatters him, but she can't help but size up this chubby baby in front of her. Suddenly, she seems to have thought of something. "Qi Huang, now that the ancient books have been found, why haven't you changed back? Do you think this sage doesn't want to?" Hearing this, Qi Huang immediately flies into a rage. "Isn't it all because you're useless, unable to mend the Tian Mo Qin, causing this sage to be unable to fly to the sky or burrow into the earth? I can't use 99% of my strength, and can only turn back into this ghastly appearance to get the books for you. Once I turn into this appearance, I can't change back for 6 hours." Muyin finally can't help but laugh out loud. Under Qi Huang's murderous gaze, she fearlessly picks him up and lovingly pinches his little face, then pinches his lotus-like limbs. "Oh, I think this looks pretty good. It's much cuter than your usual self. I think it's better to keep it like this from now on." "Jun Muyin, believe it or not, this sage will kill you." Don't pinch my butt." "Scoundrel. Wait until this sage recovers. This sage will definitely kill you." Muyin is playing with Qi Huang when she suddenly hears Qiuqiu's anxious voice. Beautiful sister, something happened to that brother surnamed Su. Hurry up and save him." Mayan is startled. She no longer plays around with Qi Huang and quickly looks at Qiuqiu. "Su Zi? What happened to him?" Because Su Zi's body was weak. Moreover, heart attacks were often fatal in an instant. Therefore, in order to ensure Su Zi's safety, she asked Little Phoenix to leave a wisp of his soul in Su Zi's body. Little Phoenix spins around in front of Mayan while chattering. It's that annoying, fierce-looking uncle by the Emperor's side. Qiuqiu sensed his aura. He took Brother Su away. Qiuqiu was the same as Little Treasure. Whenever he saw someone he liked, he would call them big brothers and sisters. If he saw someone he hated, he would call them uncles and aunts. Hearing her description, Mu Yin immediately knows who it is. Star Wolf. This fellow really didn't learn to be obedient. Chio. Can you sense where they went? Little Phoenix nodded repeatedly. Beautiful sister. Chio will show you the way. Mayan leaves the space in a flash, quickly steps onto the flying boat, and soars into the sky. Chapter 1347. Suddenly, its gaze turns, and it sees the bright red and tender little doll in the corner. Its round bird eyes brighten. So cute. Pretty sister, when did such a cute and beautiful little doll appear in the space? As it speaks, the little phoenix swoops down, accurately pouncing on Qi Huang's body, pressing it under its body all of a sudden. The little phoenix's face is full of happiness and love. Its fiery red feathers pick up the little doll, and it keeps rubbing it against its face. Bastard! This deity will kill you. This deity will dismember all of you into pieces. The little phoenix unconsciously trembles. Then it tilts its head in confusion. Hey, why do I seem to hear the voice of the great demon king? Pretty sister, where's Lord Qi Huang? How come I didn't see him today? Qi Huang, who is being held by the little phoenix, immediately goes silent, his delicate and beautiful little face distorting. Even if he dies, he will never let the little phoenix know that the little doll is him, Qi Huang. Wait until he recovers. He must peel off the little phoenix's skin and turn him into a roasted bird. Mayan coughs lightly, holding back her laughter with great difficulty. Chio, don't make trouble. First show me the way. Oh, okay, pretty sister. The little phoenix immediately obediently flies out of the space, concealing its form, and perches on Mayan's shoulder. Su Zi slowly opens his eyes, feeling a numbing pain in his heart. He can't help but let out a low moan. Top quality? Really top quality. I've been operating drunk life or dreaming death for so many years, but this is the first time I've seen such a good thing. It's just that this body is a bit too weak. But there are always people who like this delicacy. As long as it gets out, it will naturally sell for a good price. Su Zi feels his chin being grabbed, and as soon as he opens his eyes, he's faced with a heavily made-up face. He jumps up, revealing a frightened look. The person shows a satisfied expression. Good. Up close, there's not the slightest flaw. Especially this pair of eyes, clear and flawless. Simply too perfect. As he says that, he stands up, eagerly and fearfully looking at the star wolf standing to the side. Darren, I wonder how many crystals you want to sell such a good thing for. Only then did Su Zi realize that the person who had just spoken was a man. In this place, the air was filled with a cloying, sweet fragrance. Outside the house, there was a faint sound that made people blush and their hearts race. His expression changed slightly. What is this place? Io, you must be joking. You don't even recognize this place? The man with heavy makeup giggled, pinching his throat and letting out a shrill voice. This is naturally the most famous small official restaurant in Azure Blue World. Drunk life or dreaming death. Su Zi struggled to stand up, but found that he had no strength left in his body. Not to mention spiritual power, he couldn't even move his hands and feet. At the side, Star Wolf was looking down at him from above, revealing a disdainful smile. I indeed don't intend to kill you. But say, if June Mayan finds out that you've been sold to this small establishment and even become a red card here, do you think June Mayan will still care about you? You! Su Zi glared at Xing Lang with hatred and fear in his eyes. How can you be so shameless? Whoever dares to make the Lord unhappy, I'll make sure they won't be able to live well in this world. Chapter 1348. A piece of low-grade crystal? The man with heavy makeup exclaims, Darren, are you really only selling it for a piece of low-grade crystal for such a top-notch item? Xing Lang sneers. For such a lowly thing, a piece of low-grade crystal is already considered high. Taking the low-grade crystal from the man with heavy makeup, Xing Lang turns around to leave. But he suddenly turns back, slightly narrowing his eyes. You people lead a befuddled life. There should be elixirs specially used to train cultivators, right? Yes, of course there is. Although the majority of the befuddled life's waiters are ordinary people, there are also customers with special hobbies. That is, they want to play with people with spiritual power. Therefore, in befuddled life, there are also some delicate and pretty youths who cultivate. And these youths with cultivation naturally need elixirs to control and train them. Xing Lang gloomily says, "Feed him the medicine now." The man with heavy makeup is intimidated by his pressure. How could he dare to disobey? He promptly takes out the elixir from his chinkoan bag. At this time, Suzy is no longer ashamed or despairing. His eyes unwaveringly stare at Xing Lang and the man with heavy makeup. Those clear and bright eyes reveal a thick, cold, killing intent. His gaze is unblinking, as if he wants to carve their appearance into his soul, even if he dies. But at this time, the man with heavy makeup suddenly shows a pained expression. His body shakes, and he falls to the ground with a thud. There's a hole in the roof of the room at some point, and a figure, like an immortal, gracefully falls to the ground. Seeing the falling figure, Suzy suddenly widens his eyes. Soon after, he immediately restrains the killing intent in his eyes and shouts in pleasant surprise, "Little sister!" At the same time, Xing Lang's complexion becomes extremely unsightly. Mayan slowly lands on the ground, stepping on the unconscious man with heavy makeup. She looks at Xing Lang with a smile that isn't a smile. "Xing Lang, your courage is really getting bigger and bigger. You even dare to touch my people." The one before him is clearly just a girl at the stage of fasting, an insignificant cultivator from the lower realms. But facing those bottomless peach blossom eyes, Xing Lang's arrogance is unconsciously suppressed by a lot. He tries to appear tough, but he's weak at heart. "Mayan, isn't it your own fault? If it weren't for your fickleness, I wouldn't have laid my hands on your lover." Fickle and flirtatious? Mayan laughed softly, but the laughter was cold and did not reach her eyes at all. "Did Ming-ju ask you to stay near the starry school to spy on me?" The star wolf choked. He wants to scold Mu Yin for calling Jun Shang's name directly, but he is inexplicably intimidated by her pressure. For a moment, his voice weakens a little. "In short, this is all your own fault." How many lifetimes of good fortune did you cultivate for Jun Shang to take a fancy to you? If I could, I would have killed a shameless woman like you long ago. But as it happens, Jun Shang has set his sights on you, insisting on making you the future mistress of the polar domain. I pinched my nose and accepted it. I even followed by your side to protect you. But what about you? You actually hooked up with other men. Are you worthy of Jun Shang? These words were said quickly and urgently, and Mu Yin could even hear a bit of grievance in them. This is clearly a super brainless fan of Di Mingju. The anger in Mu Yan's heart dissipates a little, and the smile on her face changes from cold to playful. Then you can go complain to Di Mingju. Maybe your Jun Shang will abandon me because of this. Chapter 1349. When he first reported to Jun Shang that Mayan and Ning Mei were hooking up, he didn't expect that Jun Shang didn't take it to heart at all. What kind of bewitching spell did this woman use to make Jun Shang so hell-bent on her? Mayan turns around and presses Suzy's pulse. Finding that he's not seriously injured, she breathes a sigh of relief. Suzy's line of sight hasn't left Mayan since she appeared. Seeing Mayan treating him at this time, he immediately shows a bright smile. "Little sister, I knew you wouldn't abandon me. I said before I cure you, I won't abandon you." Mayan smiles softly and pierces the silver needle in her hand into his body. At the same time, she gently plucks the zither strings in the air with her divine sense. The power of the zither enters Suzy's body through the needle, unblocking his meridians and allowing his spiritual power to circulate again. Suzy is soon able to move, and his complexion returns to normal. But hearing Mayan's words, he softly murmurs, "Then I'd rather not be well." It's just that this sentence is very soft, and Mayan doesn't hear it. But as Xinglang watches this scene, the killing intent in his eyes becomes more and more intense, especially when he sees Su Zi grabbing Mayan's sleeve and showing an intimate smile. He finally can't bear it anymore. His figure suddenly flashes, and he ruthlessly slaps Su Zi with his palm. However, Mayan seems to have already anticipated his action. Almost at the moment when his attack arrives, she suddenly turns around and presses a talisman on his chest. The talisman is instantly activated, and Mayan's hand, which is holding the silver needle, suddenly pierces a major acupuncture point on Xinglang's body. At first, Xinglang doesn't care about Mayan's talisman. He is an immortal of the Xiaoxing continent, and even though his cultivation is suppressed by 50 to 60% in the Xiaoxing continent, some time ago, he was even injured because of Jun Shang's punishment. However, no matter how weak he has never put the people of the Xiaoxing continent in his eyes. Not to mention that she was just a girl who was in the stage of fasting. Not to mention that she was just a talisman. However, in the next moment, Xinglang once again pays the price for underestimating the enemy. The surging spiritual power in his body suddenly seems to flow into a stream of water. This stream of water was very subtle and gentle, but it entangled his spiritual power, causing his spiritual power to stop circulating. Then, the water suddenly became scorching hot, causing all the meridians and limbs in his body to become sluggish and powerless. The Star Wolf was caught off guard and fell to the ground with a groan. Before he could circulate his spiritual energy again, Mu Yan's movements are extremely fast. The silver needles in her hands pierced into his major acupoints like lightning. He then took out a rope from his space and tied him up tightly. Star Wolf struggled with all his might, his expression so dark that it looked like he was about to explode. However, Mu Yan laughed lightly. "Stop struggling. This is the immortal binding rope that Ing Mei gave me before he left. Even the immortals of the Xiaoxing continent would not be able to break free." Only then did the Star Wolf stop struggling, but fiercely glared at Mu Yan. However, his eyes were not filled with hatred, but with shame and indignation. For the first time, he wasn't prepared and fell for this woman's trick. But this time, he clearly knew that this woman was cunning, and he was also on guard against her playing the zither. But he didn't expect that in the end, he would still fall into her hands. If this matter were to spread out, whether it's the upper realm or the lower realm, he, the Star Wolf, wouldn't be able to mingle in the future. What makes the Star Wolf even more aghast is Chapter 1350. But this time, in just a short month, Mu Yan's strength had increased to such a level. Even if she had used a sneak attack, even if Xinglang was not in his best condition, if it was a normal golden core cultivator, he would not have fallen for it. Just how talented was this woman? Was it because the Emperor helped her? Or was the person that the Emperor had chosen extraordinary? Han Ye's words surfaced in Xinglang's mind. "Xinglang, don't blame me for not reminding you. You better not look down on Miss June otherwise. One day, you will pay for your disdain today." His expression finally changed slightly. At this time, Mu Yan had already woken up the unconscious man with heavy makeup. When the man with heavy makeup woke up and saw Mu Yan, he first revealed a stunned expression. Then, he felt the murderous aura emanating from her body. His face changed slightly. "Fairy, why did you break into my life of drunkenness?" Mu Yan looked at him with a faint smile, then pulled Su Zi to her side. "You wanted to hang a sign in your drunken dream?" The man with heavy makeup looked at Xinglang, who was tied up on the ground, then at Mu Yan, not knowing how to answer. Mu Yan's expression hardened. "Do you know who he is? How dare he hang a sign so casually?" The man with heavy makeup was shocked. Who is he?" "He is an exchange student from the Fengtian Academy to the Starry School." You guys really have the guts to lead a befuddled life. You dare to bully students from the two schools so casually?" The man with heavy makeup's knees softened, and he almost fell to the ground again. When he spoke again, His voice was trembling. "Goddess, sir, I failed to recognize you. Please be magnanimous. I'm also a victim. Someone delivered goods, and we accepted it. I really did not know you were a student from the Starry School and the Fontian Academy." One had to know that those who could become exchange students either had a strong family background or were extremely talented. If they really offended him, they might not even be able to keep their lives, not to mention whether or not they could continue to operate the befuddled dream inn. The man with heavy makeup kowtowed repeatedly, saying that he would not dare to do it again. However, Mu Yin laughed lightly. "This matter is indeed not your fault. Moreover, I feel very sorry for making you lose such a good item." No, it's okay. How can there be no relationship? The curve at the corner of Mayan's mouth deepens. Her bewitching smile makes her already beautiful countenance appear even more stunning. "Why don't I take one away and accompany you with another?" "Accompany? Can you accompany me?" "Yeah." As Mu Yin spoke, he took out a painting scroll from his bosom and handed it to the man with heavy makeup. "What do you think of this? Isn't it perfect?" The man with heavy makeup took the scroll and unfolded it. His eyes widened and were filled with amazement. "Beautiful! It's too beautiful! Beautiful and enchanting with a hint of valiance. This is the best, the real best." A moment later, he suddenly revealed a doubtful expression. He looked at the painting and then at the Star Wolf. Then, the doubt and shock in his eyes grew stronger and stronger. No way. This lord looked cruel, cold, and aloof. Who would have thought that he would have such a taste? The painting was vivid and lifelike. It was obvious that it was drawn on a real object. Chapter 1351. Originally, he was scared to death when he saw Xing Lang, but since he originally had this kind of hobby, then, if such a top-quality item were to be displayed, wouldn't their drunk life dreaming death be flooded with guests? Thinking of this, the man with heavy makeup can't help but drool at Xing Lang. This wretched expression and eyes give Xing Lang a bad premonition. At this time, Suzy also can't help but lean over to take a look at the picture scroll. Then he exclaims in surprise, "Oh, it's him. So it's because you like these that you kidnapped me here." As he spoke, he even covered his mouth, looking like he was shocked. Xing Lang finally can't bear it anymore, bellowing, "Jun Mayan, what did you do?" Mayan straightens her hair, unhurriedly saying, "It's nothing, just wanted to recommend an even better item to the boss. It seems that the boss is also very satisfied with my recommendation." Saying that, she leisurely takes the picture scroll and unfolds it for Xing Lang to see. "Look, isn't the little MO or beautiful? It's much more beautiful than your current appearance. If it were to be displayed, it would certainly cause a clamor. Xing Lang, when the time comes, you'll be famous." Star Wolf's expression was petrified as he looked at the beauty in the painting, who was wearing a half-covered gauze and had his hair combed in women's clothing, but was clearly a man. Suzy covers his mouth on the side, shaking his shoulders as he laughs incessantly. "Jun Mayan, you dare?" Xing Lang lets out an earth-shattering roar. Mayan picks her ears. "Why wouldn't I dare?" She slowly walks over to Xing Lang and crouches down, chuckling. "Do you know what I stabbed in your chest last time for Di Mingju to let you go?" Xing Lang's complexion stiffens, immediately remembering the question that has been troubling him for a long time. If it weren't for the message that Mayan left on his chest, he would have been driven back by Jun Shang and even expelled from the polar domain. But at that time, everyone saw the message that Mayan left. Only he himself didn't see it. "What did you leave?" Mayan reaches out to remove the silver needles from his body, faintly saying, "I said, I want to personally punish this person, make sure that Di Mingju doesn't make him disappear for me. Otherwise, without a partner to play with, wouldn't it be boring?" The fury on Star Wolf's face instantly turned into a stiff expression of shock. He stares fixedly at Mu Yin, as if he's looking at a terrifying demoness. However, Mu Yin laughed once again. Her smile was like that of an innocent young girl. "I was originally busy and forgot about you, but I didn't expect that you would actually bump into me. TSK, TSK, TSK. Of course, I can't waste the chance to play." At this very moment, Xinglang finally understands Han Ye's words. Don't ever look down on Mayan, otherwise you'll inevitably pay a heavy price. Mu Yin pats the Star Wolf's face, smiling sweetly. I wish you a happy life and drunk life or dreaming death. Also, I'll say it one last time. If you dare to have any devious thoughts or make a move against the people by my side, then don't blame me for being merciless next time. Z, let's go. And little Missy. The man with heavy makeup hurriedly stopped Mu Yin. Fairy, what is the price of that item? Mayan waves her hand. It's not worth much. I'll give it to you. The complexion of the man with heavy makeup stiffens, somewhat inexplicably distorted. Chapter 1352. But that one just sold a piece of low-grade crystal. This one might as well not even ask for a piece of crystal. Su Zi chuckles, his mood indescribably carefree. Looking at Mu Yin, his gaze becomes more infatuated and worshipful. Mu Yin jumps up to the hole in the roof and takes out the flying boat again. But before leaving, she takes back the immortal binding rope on Xinglang. She only wants to teach Xinglang a lesson, but she doesn't really want to force him into a desperate situation. But even without the immortal binding rope, Xinglang won't be able to move for a short time. She believes that this night, for Xingwolf Darren, will be colorful and unforgettable. Looking at Mu Yan's figure completely disappearing into the sky, Xinglang looks at the immortal binding rope disappearing from his body, his expression indescribably complicated. That woman wouldn't be unaware that without the immortal binding rope, he would soon be able to break free. But she still took away the immortal binding rope. So, she doesn't really want to consign him to eternal damnation? Whether it was the last time he was able to stay, or this time, Xinglang blankly thinks, then suddenly realizes what he's thinking. His face immediately becomes distorted. This woman is obviously fickle and shameless, but also cunning and insidious. How can he be deceived by her appearance? Early the next morning, Mu Yin has just woken up and sees Su Zi excitedly reporting the news of Drunk Dreaming Life to her. He heard that yesterday, Drunk Dreaming Life was listed with a superb beauty. As soon as the painting of that beauty was hung up, the threshold of Drunk Dreaming Life was broken by the customers. Unfortunately, when the beauty's first night was put up for auction, she suddenly violently injured people, turning Drunk Dreaming Life upside down. But that painting of that beauty was stolen by someone during the chaos. No matter how the beauty looked, she couldn't find it. Mu Yin very unkindly laughs out loud. From then on, whenever Xinglang thinks of Drunk Dreaming Life, thinking of his cross-dressing painting being played with in other people's hands, he will definitely vomit 3 liters of blood. Su Zi also laughs, then looks at Mu Yin with sparkling eyes. Little sister, thank you for coming to save me. After a pause, he suddenly asks, Little sister, who is the Jun Shang in that person's mouth? Mu Yin smiles, not evading the topic at all. My fiancé. Ah! Su Zi exclaimed softly. The light in his eyes dimmed for a moment, then brightened up again. Someone who's worthy of little Missy must be very outstanding and powerful, right? Just as Mu Yin was about to reply, she suddenly saw Luo Yu rushing over. Sixth senior sister. Mu Yin turns around. What's wrong? You look so flustered. Sixth senior sister, junior martial uncle is back. Mayan stares blankly. Young martial uncle is back. How come I didn't know at all? Not only did she not know, she did not even feel the presence of anyone approaching the Alcade institution. When did little martial uncle come back? Luo Yu's face showed signs of anxiety. I only discovered it when I passed by little martial uncle's room. And I seem to have seen young martial uncle injured. I don't dare to go in and disturb him. Sixth senior sister, can you go and take a look? Youngest martial uncle is injured? This time, mine was really shocked. Who could hurt youngest martial uncle? As she spoke, she hurried towards Luo Yunxiao's room. Chapter 1353. Senior Xiaoqi. Suzy couldn't help but ask Luo Yu, who is Xiao Shirshu? Is he very important to little sister? Is he very powerful? Luo Yu turned to look at him and saw that he didn't hide his emotions. She couldn't help but put her hand on his shoulder and shook her head. I advise you not to compare yourself with the two teachers in our branch. Otherwise, don't blame me for not warning you if your self-esteem is hurt. Those two are like gods. We ordinary people can only look up to them. Suzy revealed an expression of curiosity and respect at the same time. But in his heart, there was a faint sense of comparison. He didn't think he was much worse than the others. Little sister was so perfect that no one in the world could match up to her. Mu Yin walked to Luo Yunxiao's door. She didn't knock but pushed the door open and walked in. There were no candles in the room, and all the windows were closed. Only the northern window was slightly open, so it was very dark. But even if the light was so dim, everyone who entered the room would unconsciously be attracted to the man sitting in the room. The moment Suzy saw Luo Yunxiao, he felt a buzz in his head and his blood seemed to freeze. There was only one sentence echoing in his mind. How could there be such a good-looking man in the world? There is a banded gentleman, like cutting and learning like carving and grinding. There is jade in the pile of stones and green in the pine trees. His beauty is unique, unparalleled in the world. This dark room and oppressive atmosphere didn't diminish his beauty, but instead made him the only outstanding light in the darkness, dazzling people's eyes and stealing their souls. Luo Yunxiao slowly raised his head and looked expressionlessly at the people who came in. Finally, his eyes fell on Mu Yin. You're becoming more and more presumptuous. The pressure from the youth made Luo Yu quiet out of fear. Even Suzy lowered his head in embarrassment. But Mu Yin didn't care about his attitude at all. She strode into the room and opened all the windows. Then she turned back and smiled. Xiao Shirshu, why did you make the room so dark and lifeless? You're not an old man who's beyond cure. Isn't it good to let some fresh air in? Look, there's also the spiritual flower that your admirer specially planted for you. It's spicy and fragrant, and it's good for your body. Luo Yunxiao looks at her indifferently, and Mayan also looks back at her with a beaming smile. She doesn't avoid her eyes. Luo Yunxiao finally couldn't help but sigh lightly. She seemed to be helpless, but at the same time, she seemed to be conniving. You've already opened the window. Are you leaving now? At this time, the light in the room was already very bright, and Luo Yunxiao's appearance was completely reflected in their eyes. He was dressed in white, and his face was slightly pale. However, his skin was fair and translucent, so he didn't look sick at all. Instead, he looked dazzling. Luo Yu suspected that she had heard wrongly just now. However, Mu Yin frowned slightly. She felt that there was something wrong with junior martial uncle. With the intuition of a doctor, Xiaoqi, take Z back first. Don't let anyone near this place without my permission. Little sister, Suzy exclaimed. But Luo Yu had already grabbed him and dragged him away. Although Mu Yin and the people of the Xiao Yao sect had a good impression of this young man. Chapter 1354. However, after all, they're just strangers who meet by chance. There are some things that he can know, but there are still some things that he has to hide. The door closes, and Mayan swings her hand to close the windows, leaving only the one facing the flower bed. Then, she lights the candles, goes to Luo Yunxiao, and bluntly asks, Young martial uncle, are you injured? Luo Yunxiao frowns. It's nothing. Didn't you hear me telling you to get out? Mayan doesn't pay attention to him at all, and directly reaches out to take his pulse. With Luo Yunxiao's cultivation, she naturally avoids it. Mayan narrows her eyes and says, Young martial uncle, if you're not injured, why won't you let me take your pulse? Luo Yunxiao's eyes flash. Then her face stiffens. You also know that I'm your young martial uncle? I'm now ordering you to get out as your young martial uncle. As he says this, the pressure from his body naturally radiates out. If it were anyone else from the Xiaorao sect, they would have been scared witless and run away. But Mayan Ping has been with Di Mingju for a long time and has long been accustomed to this pressure. Not only does he not retreat in fear and trepidation, but he is even more convinced that Luo Yunxiao is definitely injured. As long as you let me take your pulse and confirm that you're not injured, I'll leave immediately. Zhu Mayan. Mayan smiles lazily, but her expression is unusually resolute. How you want to punish me afterwards, I'll listen to you. Luo Yunxiao is finally somewhat helpless. Why is this girl so stubborn, so stubborn? Stubborn enough to make his ice-cold heart warm again. Stubborn enough to make him more and more reluctant to let go. But when he thinks of everything that happened before he left the netherworld, his body suddenly stiffens, and the remaining warmth in his eyes is replaced by despair. He waves his hand, forcing Mayan to take a few steps back with his energy, and is about to sternly tell her to leave. Suddenly, a shrill and excited voice rings out in the silent room. Ah, Mei Yin, I finally see you again. I miss you so much. Quickly let this uncle burn some incense. A small shadow rushes straight towards Mayan. Mayan reaches out and grabs the air, grabbing the threatening Chiwen in her hand. She can't help but laugh. Chiwen, long time no see. Whoa, yes, I haven't seen you for a long time. If you miss me, give me a fragrant one. Mayan stretches out her finger and flicks its lecherous and wretched face, saying, First tell me, is young Martial Uncle injured? Then I'll consider whether or not to satisfy your request. Chi Wen's expression stiffened, and she retracted her pouting lips. She looked a little embarrassed, and her pair of bell-like eyes darted around. No, how could Master be injured? He's so powerful. Mei Yin, what nonsense are you talking about? Are you secretly in love with Master? So you imagine that Master was injured? Mu Yin sighs softly and finally puts down Chi's kiss. It seemed like little Martial Uncle was adamant about not letting others know that he was injured. It wouldn't be good for him to force others to do something they didn't want to do. She bowed slightly towards Luo Yunxiao. Little Martial Aunt, rest well. If you need my help, just let me know. She thought of all the guidance Luo Yunxiao had given her. She thought of the mental cultivation method array discs Luo Yunxiao had given her. Mine was really worried about her junior Martial Uncle and also wanted to treat him. However, she was even more unwilling to go against the little Martial Uncle's wishes. Chapter 1355. Chiwen looks at her departing back, then looks at Luo Yunxiao's pale complexion as he tries to restrain his trembling hands after she turns around. Suddenly, she steals her heart and shouts, Mei Yin, Master is injured. Seriously injured. Please save him. Chiwen. Luo Yunxiao's voice is startled and angry. But it's already too late for him to circulate his spiritual power to cover up his body's abnormality. Mine suddenly turns around, and Luo Yunxiao's deathly pale complexion and purple lips come into view. She rushes to Luo Yunxiao in 2 or 3 steps, grabs his wrist, and probes it with spiritual power. Mine's complexion abruptly changes as soon as she checks his pulse. How can there be so many injuries? Yes, there are so many injuries, not so serious. Luo Yunxiao's body is full of injuries, big and small. Whether it's the skin, the internal organs, the meridians, or even the bones. His whole body is almost riddled with holes and scars. These injuries aren't fatal and won't damage his cultivation. But there's a sinister power attached to the wounds, making it impossible for them to heal. And he's in so much pain that he wants to die. That kind of pain isn't something an ordinary person can endure. It's like his whole body is being cut by knives and needles at every moment, and being bitten by thousands of ants. An ordinary person would have already fainted and died, even if they could only endure it for a moment. But little Martial Uncle can still sit like this, and can even disguise himself, not letting her see that he's injured. Mayan is startled and angry, and her voice suddenly rises a bit. Little Martial Uncle, Who is it that used such a vicious method to torture you? Luo Yunxiao lowers her eyes and expressionlessly withdraws her hand. Even if you don't pay attention to these injuries, they can be healed in 3 months at most. Now that you've seen them, why don't you go back? 3 months at most? Mayan is usually a calm and collected person, but at this time, she's also infuriated by Luo Yunxiao's indifferent attitude. For 3 whole months, you're suffering from the pain of being cut into pieces, and you're saying that you don't care? Luo Yunxiao stares blankly and finally raises his head to meet her eyes. The girl's perpetually languid peach blossom eyes have a rare flash of anger, and this anger is for him. At that moment, his throat became hoarse. The cold words that he wanted to blurt out could no longer be said. At this time, Mayan has already restrained her emotions. Looking straight into his eyes, she slowly says, "Young martial uncle, your body is your own. Even if no one else cared, you had to care. Because if you take yourself seriously and abandon your 7 emotions and 6 desires, then no one in this world will truly care about you." Something surged in Luo Yunxiao's eyes, as if it was about to overflow. But in an instant, he concealed all these emotions. The hands hanging by his side slowly clenched and loosened, and he said hoarsely, "All right, you can treat me. But the treatment plan here might not be effective for me." He raised his head, and his usually cold voice unconsciously carried a trace of gentleness. "You also have to promise me that if you really can't cure it, you can't force it." Mayan's face immediately blooms with a brilliant smile. "Junior martial uncle, rest assured, even if I can't cure you as soon as possible, I will definitely think of a way to alleviate your pain. By the way, little martial uncle, can I tell my fellow disciples about your situation? They are also very worried about you." Chapter 1356. In the eyes of the people of the Xiaoyao sect, Little Uncle Master would always be like a celestial being. If his senior and junior brothers saw Little Uncle Master's wretched state, would it damage his image in their hearts? But this time, Luo Yunxiao did not hesitate at all. She nodded and said, "That's fine." Luo Yunxiao found it funny that the young girl's uneasy expression had become relaxed. Then, he felt a slight pain in his heart. He was not afraid of what others thought of him. He just did not want the person in front of him to see him in such a wretched state. Since even she had seen it, what did he have to hide? Moreover, there was already a huge gap between him and the person in front of him. Now, even his last bit of hope had been crushed into dust by his father. What right did he have to look forward to it? What right did he have to desire it? In his mind, the scene before he left the nether region seemed to appear again. In Wuji had brought the marriage oath and forced him to sign the contract. He would not allow it. No matter how his mother cried and begged, no matter how his father threatened and pressured him, no matter how In Yuani cursed him for being selfish and unfilial. He had been submissive for so long, but this was the first time he wanted to resist so decisively. He wanted to hold on to the last bit of desire in his heart. Even when his father handed him over to In Yuani to be tortured, even when he had to endure thousands of cuts every day, he did not waver at all. Until his father placed the information about the Xiaorao sect and the Starry School in front of him. As long as Luo Yunxiao closed his eyes, In Wuji's cold and cruel face and voice would appear in front of him. "You are so determined to resist because you already have someone in your heart, right? I don't need to find out who your sweetheart is. Yunxiao, I will only tell you one thing. If you resist me, I will kill everyone who appears by your side. Now, think carefully and tell me, will you sign this marriage certificate or not?" Luo Yunxiao's face was pale. The last bit of light in his eyes was extinguished bit by bit. Finally, he picked up the crimson marriage certificate and dripped his blood on it. Seeing the oath on the marriage certificate take effect, In Wuji took the marriage certificate with satisfaction and turned to leave. He did not even look at Luo Yunxiao's wounded body. But when he reached the door, he stopped. "Yunxiao, don't hate me. You owe your mother, you owe your brother, and you owe the entire nether region. Your sins can never be redeemed, even after thousands of years. That person, whether it's a man or a woman, if you really like him, it's fine to bring him back as a toy. But the marriage agreement with the demons, even if you die with only a layer of skin left, you must still fulfill it. Bring it back as a toy. Luo Yunxiao revealed a pained and self-mocking expression as she slowly closed her eyes. His eyes seemed to be boiling with wetness, but in the end, he forcibly suppressed it. Father actually let him treat Mu Yin as a plaything? That thing. What else was there left for him to dream about? Hell and the human world had always been out of reach. He was already in purgatory, so why should he drag her down with him and make her sink with him? Little martial uncle, are you in pain now? How about I play the zither to ease your pain? Muyin takes out the Tian Mo Chin and slowly plays it. The zither music carried a gentle spiritual energy and seeped into Luo Yunxiao's body. Chapter 1357, Floating Like a Dream, is actually useless for people whose cultivation is much higher than Mayans. But at least it can slightly relieve the pain of the wound and bring a trace of light and hope. Luo Yunxiao remembers the sound of the zither she heard in the river of forgetfulness. She suddenly opens her eyes and stares at Mayan. Mayan is scared by her stare, and she can't help but stop. Young master, what's wrong? Luo Yunxiao stares at her for a long time, and then looks away. Don't casually show this kind of musician skill in front of others. He has already vaguely guessed Mayan's identity, and his master's dying words flashes in his mind from time to time. The person who can affect his life and death, the person who can change his fate, could it be Mayan? But then he forcibly suppresses this idea at the bottom of his heart. Even if he can't change his fate, he will not drag this girl in front of him into the same quagmire as him. Mayan nods. Don't worry. When I show it to outsiders, I will use the skills of ordinary musicians to cover it up. But in front of my own people, I don't have to bother to hide it. Your own people? Luo Yunxiao murmurs. Muyin nodded matter-of-factly. Of course, master, eldest senior brother, second senior brother, third senior brother, fourth senior sister, fifth senior brother, seventh senior brother, and youngest martial uncle. Including those who have been following her in Mingyan Valley. They are all her own people. Mine has always been stubborn and sensitive. Ordinary people would think that she always draws a line when she gets along with others and always keeps a distance, neither cold nor warm, and will not cross the line. But once she divides them into her own people, she will be very protective and trust them unconditionally. Of course, unconditional trust doesn't mean that she won't keep her own secrets. And perhaps the only people she can share these secrets with are Xiao Bao and Diming Ju, who are close to her. In fact, the brothers in the Xiaoyao sect all have their own secrets, but this doesn't hinder the trust and friendship between them. Young master? Luo Yunxiao repeats in a low voice, and then shows a shallow smile. This is enough. This is good, really very good. In this life, it's enough that he can be her young master and be in the Xiaoyao sect. In the end, he would only be her youngest martial uncle forever. Luo Yunxiao rarely smiled. Now that he smiled, his already handsome face became even more captivating. Muyin looks at his smile, as if he has let go of everything, but she inexplicably feels a little sad, because little Uncle Master's smile was too lonely. But then, she couldn't help but shake her head and laugh at herself for losing her mind. Little Martial Uncle was the most popular young Master Yun Xiao in the entire cultivation continent. How could he be lonely? How many people admired and worshipped him? However, who was the person who injured youngest martial uncle? If she were to find out, she would definitely skin him alive, fry him in a pot, and roast him in a fire. Let him have a taste of being cut by 1,000 blades, the feeling of being constantly tortured in hell. In the next few days, Mu Yin and the people of the Xiaoyao sect took turns to take care of Luo Yunxiao. When Luo Yu and the rest found out about Little Uncle Master's condition, they were all furious and shouted that they would tear the person who hurt Little Uncle Master into pieces. Chapter 1358. On the contrary, Luo Yunxiao, the injured person, was calm and indifferent. Seeing that they were quarreling fiercely, he would still look up indifferently. With just one look, the pressure that he usually accumulated made everyone silent out of fear. Only Mu Yin was not afraid of him. No matter how cold Luo Yunxiao was, she would treat his injuries when she needed to, and let him sleep when he needed to, and she would play the zither until he fell asleep. In the end, the people of the Xiaoyao sect all knew that their little junior sister was a protective talisman. If they annoyed Luo Yunxiao, they would immediately ask Mu Yin for help. However, apart from Chu Moli, no one suspected that there was any ambiguous relationship between Mu Yin and Luo Yunxiao. Luo Yunxiao was especially good to Mu Yin? Wasn't that a matter of course? Little junior sister could be said to be the only personal disciple of the junior master. Moreover, little junior sister was so powerful, she could treat the junior master's injuries, and she was so cute. It was normal for everyone to love her. They also loved little junior sister the most. Chu Moli was the only one who would sigh as he looked at the carefree little martial uncle and the completely oblivious little martial sister. On this day, Mu Yin had just returned to her room after treating Luo Yunxiao's injuries when she heard someone calling her. Little sister. She turned her head and met Su Zi's bright eyes. She couldn't help but ask, "What's the matter?" Su Zi's face showed a bit of grievance. "I haven't seen little sister for a few days. I miss little sister." After a pause, he saw that Mu Yin was completely unmoved, so he couldn't help but ask, "Little sister, you said that you would treat my injuries. Is that true?" "Of course." Mu Yin nodded, "But I have to take care of the junior master during this period, so I don't have time for you. You should follow the cultivation method I taught you and massage your acupoints every day. Also, remember to take the pills I gave you every day." Su Zi's illness could not be cured in a short period of time. Before starting the treatment, she had to make Su Zi's body stronger. Otherwise, he might not be able to withstand the follow-up treatment. Su Zi showed a wronged and regretful expression, looking as pitiful as a puppy. Mu Yin ignored him and turned to return to her room. The moment Mu Yin turned around, Su Zi's expression suddenly became fierce, his eyes full of jealousy and unwillingness. But right at that moment, Mu Yin suddenly turned around and directly faced the emotions that he did not have time to restrain. Su Zi panicked. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to explain something, but no words came out. He was so anxious that his face turned from white to red, then from red to white, and tears almost fell down. That moment of maturity had now turned into the helplessness and panic of a child. Mu Yin couldn't help but sigh softly, finding it a little funny. She took a few steps forward and slapped his forehead. "Su Zi, don't let your imagination run wild. I already have someone I like. I won't like you." Su Zi's expression froze all of a sudden. The muscles on his face trembled inch by inch, and his voice was hoarse and difficult to speak. "Why? Is it because of your fiancé?" Mine crosses her arms over her chest, looking at him with a smile that isn't a smile. "Who I like? What does it have to do with a brat like you? Even if I don't have someone I like, I won't like you." These words could be said to be cold and merciless, and there was no room for negotiation at all. Suzy's body trembled slightly, and a trace of hatred shot out from those clear and bright eyes. You clearly said that you wouldn't abandon me. Chapter 1359. Muyin slapped him on the forehead again, snappily saying, "Don't pretend to be deeply in love and crazy for love. We've only known each other for a few days, and you're already deeply in love with me? Boy, are you kidding me?" Suzy hurriedly said, "But I really like little sister. This is not like let alone love." Muyin mercilessly exposed him. "I'm just a life-saving straw that you grabbed when you were in despair because of your illness. Because this straw is too precious, you developed a strong, possessive desire, and even mistakenly thought that this was love." Suzy was stunned, staring blankly at Muyin. After a long while, he stupidly repeated, "It's not like that. I feel very comfortable and happy when I'm with little sister. I also quite like you." Muyin smiled slightly, not evading the topic, "And thank you for appearing. But that's just a sister's liking for her younger brother. Do you understand?" But they had only met by chance, so her feelings for Suzy were not that deep. But because of his appearance, Chi Huang had a chance to see the light of day again, so she was really grateful to him. Moreover, after these few days of getting along, she knew that Suzy might be a little sickly, but he was definitely not a sinister and ruthless person. For a person with clear eyes, his heart couldn't be too dirty. It was just that the hopeless, incurable disease was slowly distorting his temperament. So if it was Suzy's wish, she would try her best to realize it. His illness, she would also try her best to cure it. Suzy muttered the words, "sister's liking for her younger brother," and suddenly stared straight at Muyin. He said word by word, "If it was sister's liking for her younger brother, wouldn't you abandon me? Wouldn't you be disappointed in me because of my illness, and then throw me aside like garbage?" Muyin slowly raises her hand, and then gives the youth's forehead another heavy slap. Ouch! Suzy couldn't help but cry out in pain this time, feeling wronged. "Little sister, why did you hit me again?" "I hit you because you're an idiot," Muyin said snappily. "I said that I will definitely cure your illness. Did you turn a deaf ear to my words? What do you mean by throwing you aside like trash because of your illness? Do you have paranoia?" Then, ignoring Suzy's shocked expression, she turned around and entered the room. Suzy stood there in a daze. After a long while, he touched his forehead and laughed foolishly. It seemed like the feeling of treating little Missy as an older sister wasn't bad. No, it was very good. The feeling of never being abandoned was really great. After laughing, Suzy's eyes revealed an indignant and picky expression. "Little Missy is so nice and perfect. How could there be a man worthy of her in this world?" Little sister didn't like people like little Marshall uncle either. He really didn't know what kind of person that fiancé was. What made little Missy like him? If that fiancé wasn't worthy of little Missy, he would definitely break them up. Suzy clenched his fists, made a great vow, and left, full of ambition. After Mu Yin returns to the space, she takes out the Encyclopedia of Elementary Alchemy and the furnace, and begins to refine elixirs. Ever since the Moon Spirit root gave birth to a Fire Spirit root, Mayan feels that her alchemy has become a lot smoother. Chapter 1360. Little Marshall Uncle's recovery speed is too slow. As Mu Yin prepared the elixirs for refining, she said, the injuries on youngest martial uncle's body aren't actually that serious. It's just that there's a layer of poison on the wound, which prevents it from healing for a long time. I found a pill recipe in the Compendium of Alchemy. As long as I refine it with cloud birth and sea condensation, and supplement it with the realm of stars and the mist dispersing, I might be able to dispel the poison in a short period of time. As soon as he hears that Mayan is so busy for Luo Yunxiao, Qi Huang immediately pulls a long face. Jun Mayan, why are you so good to that pretty boy? Deming Ju isn't here. You wouldn't have really been seduced by him, right? Mu Yin rolled his eyes. Qi Xiao Huang, are you done yet? You've asked this question 800 times. Haven't you had enough? How did little martial uncle offend you? Why do you hate him so much? Qi Huang was stunned, and a wisp of bewilderment flashed across his eyes. However, he quickly gritted his teeth and said, I don't care. If there's me, there's him. There's no me. Jun Mayan, tell me in your heart, who is more important, me or him? As he spoke, he was about to throw himself at the cauldron. Mu Yin lifts her foot and ruthlessly kicks him, looking at him darkly. Qi Xiao Huang, I'm warning you, behave yourself. It wasn't easy for me to gather all the elixirs needed for the recipe, and some of them are expensive. I had to borrow some crystal stones from Su Zi to buy them. There's only one of them. If you destroy it, believe it or not, I'll make you question your life. This brat, if you don't give him a good spanking, he'll tear the tiles off the roof. Qi Huang glared at her for a long time. Seeing that she wasn't going to compromise, he could only leave with a gloomy face. Before he left, he even left behind some harsh words. Don't blame me for not reminding you. That pretty boy has a pretty face but a dark heart. He's full of misfortune. Sooner or later, you'll be killed by him. He's beautiful, my ass. Mu Yin can't help but laugh as she watches Qi Huang stomp his feet and hide inside the tower like a child. She really wanted to know if little martial uncle and Qi Huang had a grudge in their past lives. Otherwise, why would Qi Huang hate little martial uncle so much? Little martial uncle, I want to try a new treatment today. Mu Yin takes out the Tian Mo Qin and sits on the edge of Luo Yunxiao's bed. Eldest senior brother, please apply this medicine on little martial uncle's wounds. Yun Ruhan took the concoction and hesitated to step forward. She looked at Luo Yunxiao inquiringly. Luo Yunxiao silently looks at Mayan for a while, then nods. Mayan used the elixirs that she refined with great difficulty to boil. Concocting that pill had consumed a lot of her spiritual power and mental strength, so her face was still a little pale, and there were dark circles under her eyes. However, they were all covered up by her disguise technique. After the medicine is applied, Mayan slowly plucks the zither strings. Yun Ruhan had thought that she would hear either a melodious melody or an impassioned zither. But the strange thing was that this time, the sound of the zither was intermittent, and it was difficult to sob. It was as if a dying person was breathing and would stop breathing at any time. Luo Yunxiao's expression suddenly changed when she heard the sound of the zither. He threw away the scroll in his hand and wanted to get up to stop Mu Yin. However, before he started playing the zither just now, he had already removed all the defenses around his body. It could be said that in this state, it was tantamount to letting Mu Yin do whatever she wanted. If Mu Yin had the intention to kill him with the sound of the zither, she could even take away half his life in an instant. Chapter 1361. In an instant, Luo Yunxiao's limbs and meridians seemed to be entangled by something, unable to move. Mind, stop, he says in a hoarse voice. You'll be in danger. Halfway through his words, beads of sweat ooze from his forehead. making him unable to speak again. His internal organs, meridians, bones, and skin all feel a burning pain. For Luo Yunxiao, this kind of pain can be said to be insignificant. However, his body is already out of control. Just like Luo Yunxiao, Mine's complexion becomes paler and paler as she plays the zither. Sweat drips down from her body like rain. In the blink of an eye, her clothes are completely soaked in sweat. The spiritual power in her dantian is drained little by little, and her meridians are expanded to the extreme inch by inch. But it's not enough. It's far from enough. The power of the Shun musician's music wraps around the insidious poison on Luo Yunxiao's wound, but it's simply powerless to expel it. So much so that the insidious power even follows her spiritual power and begins to bite back. Little junior sister, what's wrong with you? Yun Ruhan sees Mayan's trembling body, her pale complexion, and the black energy that twines around her. She anxiously shouts, "Little junior sister, quickly stop playing!" In the space, Chi Huang lets out an angry roar. "Jun Mayan, what are you doing? Do you want to die?" Still not stopping yet. In fact, Mayan also wants to stop. Before she used this method, she never thought that the insidious power attached to little martial uncle's wound would be so powerful. But at this moment, her spiritual power and breath have already been entangled by that insidious power. She wants to retreat, but she can't retreat, and she can't advance. It's clearly the most critical moment, but Mayan's eyes light up with a stubborn and callous light. That sinister power was trying to devour her spirit root? If you have the ability, come and try it. Luo Yunxiao suddenly sits up, a trace of blood spilling from the corner of his mouth. He doesn't know when, but a long sword has appeared in his hand. He raises it with great effort, disregarding the aggravation of his injury. But Mayan's speed is faster than him. The sound of the zither suddenly changed from a whimper to the sound of a powerful army, a gale, and a huge wave. This gust of violent wind and huge waves didn't blast away the sinister power. Instead, it curled up the vortex and actually drew the sinister power towards itself. Luo Yunxiao's body lightens. Then she suddenly widens her eyes, startled and furious. "Jun Mayan, you dare!" In the next moment, Mu Yin spat out a mouthful of blood. Her originally pale face was now covered with a layer of green ash. Blood spills on the Tian Mo Qin, but the sound of the Qin doesn't stop in the slightest. The surging spiritual power is wrapped in a menacing and insidious force. Then, suddenly, a white light is emitted from Mu Yan's body. Star Domain activate. Bang, bang, bang. Several loud noises came from the room. Apart from the bed beneath Luo Yunxiao, all the other furnishings in the room were turned to dust by the powerful force. Yun Ruhan hurriedly dodged, narrowly avoiding being affected by the explosion. He immediately turned his head to look, only to see that Mu Yin was still sitting there with his back straight, his hands stroking the zither strings. But the black gas around her has decreased by more than half. Just as Yun Ruhan breathed a sigh of relief, he sees the remaining black gas rushing towards Mu Yin once again. Although it's already sparse, it's still brandishing its claws and fangs, as if it could completely engulf the little sister at any time. Chapter 1362. Luo Yunxiao also stands up from the bed. Although her body is on the verge of collapse, and her face is as white as paper, she steadily raises her hand and swings her sword. Yun Ruhan's movements are quick. Luo Yunxiao's sword is like lightning, unreachable by the naked eye. But in the end, there's an icy blue light that explodes half of the palace with a loud bang. It falls behind Mayan and firmly wraps her in an embrace. The originally aggressive and seemingly invincible sinister force, the moment the icy blue light appears, it starts to tremble violently, as if it's frightened and desperate. With a sizzling sound like it's being burned, the sinister force dissipates without a trace in the blink of an eye. Mayan's body softly falls down, but she doesn't fall to the ground. Instead, she falls into a broad embrace. A familiar cool breath hits her in the face, making her feel at ease, but also making her heart tremble uncontrollably. Mayan stares blankly at the hand on her waist. That familiar, slender, perfect, and powerful hand. She seems to be in a daze. Mingju. Even Mayan herself doesn't realize that the voice that comes out of her mouth is so ecstatic, and it also carries the ease and hoarseness of finally finding a home. Mingju, you're finally back. However, what awaits her next isn't gentle pampering and honeyed words. Instead, it's someone's thunderous rage. June Mayan, what did you promise me? You promised me again and again that you wouldn't do dangerous things. Is this your guarantee? Mayan shrinks her neck, revealing a flattering smile. I'm confident that my domain can temporarily withstand this sinister force. The binding and sinister force on little Martial Uncle's body has already been removed, and he has regained his mobility. As long as she gives him enough time, little Martial Uncle will naturally expel this sinister force for her. You still dare to talk back? Mingju's face is as gloomy as a storm, and his eyes are so cold that they can freeze everything within thousands of miles. You dare to go against the tarsal bone nether with that elementary domain of yours. I think you're tired of living. Mine doesn't have the slightest bit of temper after being yelled at. She feels the man's hands that are holding her slightly trembling, and under his violently heaving chest, she can almost hear his rapid heartbeat. Jun Shangdarin, who has always been high and aloof, whose countenance wouldn't change even if empty Tai collapsed in front of him. Right now, because of his anxiety and fear, there are still faint beads of sweat that haven't dried up yet on his forehead. Muyen takes the initiative to put her arms around his waist and rub against his chest. She apologizes in a very shameless manner. I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. Saying that, she lifts her head again, her clear, sparkling eyes staring unblinkingly at the man's peerlessly handsome face. Mingju, I haven't seen you for so long. I miss you. Listening to Wu Nong's soft voice and looking at her smile, which was brighter than the spring sunshine, Chu Yunsheng felt a chill run down his spine. Mingju's brimming anger is like a punctured ball. It can no longer be released. He firmly grips Mu Yan's waist and firmly presses her into his arms. Gnashing his teeth, he says, Jun Mu Yan, if there is a next time when you don't take your own safety seriously, I will lock you up and make you stay by my side forever. On the side, Yun Ruhan stares foolishly at this scene, his chin almost dropping to the ground. After a long while, he points at the two of them, stammering, Little junior sister, you and Instructor Moore, what is your relationship? Chapter 1363. The Emperor's threat was very obvious. If you dare not give me a status, I will skin you alive. Ahem. Mayan coughed softly, her cheeks slightly red. Her eyes were a little shy and awkward, but she still said, Let me reintroduce. This is my fiancé Mo. Ju. Because Mingju used the surname Mo to hide his identity, he did not say what his real name was. So when Mayan forged an identity for him, she directly used Ju. But when the name Mo Ju came out, she realized something was wrong. Wasn't this the same name as the cold-faced little girl, Mo Ju, she met in Tianguang ruins? But very quickly, she threw this thought to the back of her mind. Yun Ruhan was obviously shocked by her answer. I fiancé. Junior sister, you are engaged? Why? Is it strange? No. Yun Ruhan shook her head, but could not help but say, I just did not expect you to be engaged at such a young age. People living in the cultivation continent were basically cultivators with long lifespans. Those below 25 years old could only be considered teenagers. In order not to affect their cultivation and advancement, many people would only talk about marriage after they reached adulthood. and mine was at most 20 years old. Unexpectedly, she was already engaged. Mine thought to herself, if only you knew that I already have a 5-year-old son. Ahem, forget it. Let's not provoke the eldest senior brother for now. After Yun Ruhan's excitement, she could not help but worry, but the Starry School prohibits teacher-student relationships. Junior sister, you must not let anyone know that you are engaged to tutor Mo. Di Mingju's face darkened, and he gritted his teeth. His expression was malicious, and he really wanted to tear the person who set this rule into pieces. At this moment, he really wanted to announce to the world that Mayan belonged to him alone. Seeing Di Mingju's ugly expression, Mayan could not help but laugh out loud. Then she said seriously, I also know that teacher-student relationships are prohibited in the school, so please help me keep my relationship with Mo Ju a secret, eldest senior brother and junior uncle. Yun Ruhan nodded vigorously. I definitely won't tell anyone. He did not want his junior sister to be expelled from the Starry School. Mayan's gaze turned to Luo Yunxiao. However, he saw Luo Yunxiao's pain and loneliness in that instant. However, it only lasted for an instant before those emotions disappeared without a trace. Luo Yunxiao turned back into the aloof and unreachable little martial ant. I agree. Muyin thought that what she saw in that split second was just an illusion, and immediately revealed a shallow smile when she heard that. Thank you, Junior Master. Luo Yunxiao flicked her wrist, and the sword in her hand disappeared. He lowered his eyes and said softly, I should be the one saying thank you. He had long since gotten used to the pain that haunted him like maggots in his bones, and no one took it to heart. However, the person in front of him was willing to put himself in danger in order to reduce his pain. Luo Yunxiao was used to being alone his entire life. He was used to having nothing in the world belong to him. But today, for the first time since his master's death, he felt warmth and care. He opened his mouth, wanted to say something, but suddenly met Di Mingju's eyes. It was bone-piercingly cold and deep without any ripples. Chapter 1364. Their gazes met in the air, and there seemed to be raging waves washing over them silently. Yun Ruhan felt her legs tremble. It was as if a storm was coming. However, in the next moment, Mu Yan's body swayed, and then she softly fell down. Junior sister, Yun Ruhan's voice rang out. Two figures dashed over like lightning. But in the end, only a pair of hands caught Mu Yan. The moment Luo Yunxiao took a step forward, she retreated. He keeps a distance of 3 feet from Jun Mayan and doesn't come any closer. That was the distance between youngest martial uncle and his disciple. It was a gap that he would never be able to cross in his lifetime, let alone dream of crossing over. Di Mingju grabs Mayan with one hand and pulls her into his embrace. As he passes by Luo Yunxiao, Di Mingju stops and says in a low voice, the tarsal bone netherworld is something that can only be found in the Shoshin continent's netherworld domain. I don't care who you are, but if you hurt Mayan, I will consign you to eternal damnation and destroy your soul. Also, Jun Mayan is my woman. She used to be, is, and will always be my wife. Anyone who covets or has delusions about Mayan, he will never be soft-hearted. Luo Yunxiao slowly raises her head. Facing Di Mingju's ice-cold eyes, she doesn't dodge or avoid them. She enunciates each word as if she's making a vow. I am her little martial uncle, and I will always be her little martial uncle. That was enough. As long as he could stay by her side, teach her, protect her as she grew up, and see her happiness, even if he was only her little martial uncle, that was enough. Di Mingju gives him a deep look. He turns around and takes a step, his figure disappearing several hundred meters away in a flash. The man's deep voice came from afar. Remember what you said today. Mu Yin slept very deeply this time, as if it was because she had a familiar aura that made her feel at ease by her side, so the exhaustion of the past few days was completely released. In the end, she was awakened by the aroma of food. This feeling was all too familiar. Mu Yin slowly opens her eyes and sees the delicacies on the table not far from her, as well as the handsome man sitting at the table. He felt an indescribable sweetness and softness in his heart. After experiencing the misery of her previous life, she had thought that she would surely be alone in this life, and that Xiao Bao was the only person she could worry about. But she didn't expect that in this lifetime, she would actually get to know Di Mingju and fall in love with him. Once again, he experienced the warmth and security of a family. Mayan gets up from the bed and uses her fastest speed to condense her water spiritual power to wash herself. Then he excitedly sits down at the table, taking a deep breath. Di Mingju, your culinary skills are really getting better and better. Fifth senior brother's cooking is also very delicious, but compared to you, it's still far inferior. However, just as Mu Yan's hand reached for the chopsticks, it was caught by another pair of slender and powerful hands. Di Mingju coldly looks at her, who said these were made for you. Mu Yan, you didn't cook it for me. You deliberately placed it here to lure me and even woke me up? However, Mu Yan quickly realized that the man in front of him was still angry and wanted to settle the score with her. She coughed lightly, held his hand, and shook it gently. Are you still angry? Chapter 1365. Listening to the man's words, Mayan knows that this time, it won't be easy to get through. Oh, since words won't do, then seduction will do. Mayan licks her lips, her peach blossom eyes glisten, and the corners of her mouth slowly hooks up into a bright and enchanting smile. It's rare for her to smile so charmingly, so lustfully. Di Mingju only feels that all the blood in his body is suddenly rushing towards one direction. He can't help but swallow. Mayan is startled and reaches out to hook his lapel, pulling him slightly forward. She steps forward and sits on his lap. Their bodies are tightly pressed against each other. Through the thin material, she can feel the man's tight and hot skin and a little bit of his rapid heartbeat. The smile on Mayan's face deepens, and her soft voice is like the strongest aphrodisiac. Dear Jun Shangdarin, whether or not I'm thinking of you, you can verify it yourself, and you'll know. Saying that, her soft, captivating red lips press against the man's slightly parted lips. The atmosphere in the room quickly becomes scorching and surging. After a long time, Di Mingju abruptly releases the woman in his arms, gasping for breath several times. Then he harshly pulls her into his arms as if punishing her. His hoarse voice is like a repressed storm. Why you, Yin Yin? Let's get married right away. Damn it, he really can't wait a moment longer. Mayan is also unable to calm her breathing. Her cheeks are flushed, and her eyes are like silk. But hearing Di Mingju's words, her reason is pulled back. Didn't we agree? No matter what decision she makes, she will definitely ask for Xiao Bao's opinion. If they really want to get married, then Xiao Bao must be by her side. Hearing Mayan mention Xiao Bao, Di Mingju also calms down and frowns slightly. I've already let Han Yi spread out his manpower to search the entire Xiojin continent, but there's no news of Xiao Bao at all. He originally thought that finding Xiao Bao should be a very easy matter. He originally wanted Xiao Bao to come back later, so that he wouldn't disturb his and Mayan's two-person world. But now, with his influence, he still can't find him after searching for a month. This makes Di Mingju anxious. The worry in Mayan's eyes is also indistinct, but she sees that Di Mingju has the posture of turning the entire Xiojin continent upside down. She quickly told him about the situation where Little Phoenix had placed the Fire Phoenix doppelganger on Xiao Bao. I have a feeling that Xiao Bao is right beside me. Just a little bit more, and I'll be able to find him. Mu Yin raises her head and clasps Di Mingju's hand. She says in a soft but firm tone, Di Mingju, believe me. Don't make a big commotion. I'm afraid that Xiao Bao will be in danger. I will definitely find Xiao Bao as soon as possible. Mu Yin has a premonition. Xiao Bao's identity His immortal body, just like her identity as a Shun musician, cannot be known by others. Otherwise, it was very likely that it would bring disaster to Xiaobao. Di Mingju looks at her for a long time and finally nods his head. Mu Yin sees that his expression has finally eased and immediately shows an eager expression. Then now? You're not angry? Can I eat now? The aroma of the delicacies in front of her kept drifting into her nose, making her salivate unbearably. His stomach had been growling for a long time. Di Mingju looks at her appearance, and his eyes can't help but flash with a smile. Just as he was about to pick up the chopsticks and feed her, there was a knock on the door. Chapter 1366. The smile on Di Mingju's face instantly freezes. The gaze that could drown a person has once again turned into a death gaze burning with the flames of jealousy. Yin Yin really knows a lot of people during my absence. The corner of Mu Yan's mouth twitches, and she inwardly curses Suzy. Why did he have to come at this time? It's better to let her eat these delicacies first. Probably because he hasn't gotten a response for a long time. Suzy tentatively pushes the door. Then with a creak, the door opens. The room is brightly lit, and Suzy can see the scene in the room almost as soon as the door is opened. The first thing he sees is Di Mingju's ice blue, bone-chilling eyes. Suzy's breathing suddenly stops, and his body instantly stiffens. In that instant, he felt as if his soul had trembled. If it said that when he saw Luo Yunxiao, he only felt ashamed of his inferiority for a moment. But looking at the man in front of him, there's an urge to surrender from the bottom of his heart. After a moment of suffocation, Suzy suddenly comes back to his senses and finally sees the man's face clearly. Then, he inhales a mouthful of cold air again. He originally thought that Luo Yunxiao's appearance was already unique and unparalleled, and that no one else could compare to her. But the man in front of him is not the slightest bit inferior to Luo Yunxiao. In fact, it might even surpass them. It's just that the man's pressure and imposing manner is too strong and too high and mighty. So much so that people would be deeply awed at first glance and forget to pay attention to his peerless appearance. Suzy's line of sight moves somewhat dully and finally falls on Mu Yin. He sees that although Mu Yin isn't sitting in Di Mingju's embrace, the two are very close, and their hands are still intertwined. "Little sister," Suzy says after a long while. "He is." Mu Yin smiles faintly and doesn't shy away. "Yes, he is my fiancé, Emoju, and also one of the instructors of Yao Guang branch." Although he was already mentally prepared, Suzy still can't help but feel sad for a while. It's not that he still has improper thoughts towards Mu Yin, but he always feels that the little sister that he just had is about to be snatched away. Thinking of this, Suzy suddenly sees Di Mingju as an eyesore. Even if he's handsome and decent, how could he be worthy of little Missy? Suzy had been hovering between life and death since he was a child, facing the threat of death almost every day. If an ordinary person were to feel Di Mingju's coercion, they might have directly withered away. However, his face was clearly getting paler and paler, but he still revealed a clean smile and walked towards Mu Yin. "Little sister, this is the snack I bought from the food shop. It's your favorite money spit silk." With that, he shakes his hand and passes the food box to Mu Yin. The corner of Mu Yin's mouth twitches. She braces herself and says, "Thank you, Z. But look, Emoju made a table full of dishes for me. I'm afraid I don't have the appetite to eat today." Suzy didn't think about it at all. He just said with some regret, "Golden silk spit must be eaten while it's hot. But it's okay. I'll line up for you next time." "No need." Chapter 1367. Before he could finish, the temperature in the room suddenly dropped. Suzy's face paled visibly. His fingers and lips turned purple. Mu Yin was shocked and quickly said, "Di Mingju, calm down, calm down. Z has a heart disease and can't withstand your pressure." As she spoke, she took out a talisman and pressed it on Su Z. The talisman burned, and Su Z's face finally improved. Mu Yan's face darkened. "Z, if you keep messing around, I won't be polite anymore." Su Z pursed his lips in displeasure. But facing Mu Yan's serious and angry expression, he still felt wronged. "I was wrong, sister." As he spoke, he looked up at Di Mingju and called unwillingly, "Brother-in-law." Cough, 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 cough. Brother-in-law. Mu Yan almost choked to death from Su Zi's address. But Di Mingju was actually called brother-in-law? Why did he feel so happy? Su Zi took the food box and left obediently. Mu Yan suppressed the urge to laugh and looked at Di Mingju. Su Zi is an exchange student from Fengtian Academy to Starry School. Because his illness is very strange, I contacted him and wanted to try to cure his illness. Qi Huang's existence could not be known to anyone, not even Di Mingju. This was what Qi Huang had repeatedly reminded her, and even forced Mu Yin and Xiaobao to swear. Although Mu Yin trusted Di Mingju, she could not go against Qi Huang's wishes. To me, Su Zi is just a little brother. Mu Yin approached the man who still had a cold expression and showed a flattering smile. "My lord, you don't have to be jealous of this kind of inexplicable jealousy, right?" Di Mingju looked up at her expressionlessly and sneered. "Who said I was jealous?" Yes, yes, my lord. You are not jealous at all." Mu Yin quickly gave him a way out. "It's just that I am hungry and want to eat. So, my dear fiancé, can I eat your love meal?" Gentleness flashed in Di Mingju's cold eyes. Just when Mu Yin thought that she had finally escaped a calamity and could eat heartily, Di Mingju waves his hand, and the delicacies on the table instantly disappear without a trace. Mu Yin was dumbfounded. "What are you doing?" Di Mingju stands up, then bends down, leaning very close to her. Only then does the corner of his lips slightly curve up. Ben Jun has changed his mind. "What? This monarch is jealous." Di Mingju enunciates each word, almost gnashing his teeth as he says, "Ben Jun drank a bellyful of vinegar, because I came back this time. So, Yin Yin, your love meal is gone." Under Mayan's thunderstruck glare, Jun Shangdaran also very naughtily stretches out a slender finger and shakes it. 1 month. After that, without waiting for Mayan to react, his figure turns into smoke and disappears without a trace. Bastard Di Mingju, give me back my spirit food. In the next few days, Di Mingju frequently goes in and out of Mayan's room without the slightest intention of avoiding her. This time, even if Yin Ruhan doesn't say it, the other people of the Xiaoyao sect can see that the relationship between the two isn't shallow. Regarding Jun Shangdaran's childish act of declaring sovereignty, Mayan doesn't know whether to laugh or cry. But what makes her most oppressed is that Di Mingju really did what he said. He didn't prepare to cook for her for a month. Chapter 1368. Cloud-born Sea Binding is launched. However, the next moment, the alchemy furnace in front of her makes a creaking sound. Then, with a bang, it explodes into pieces. Mu Yin wipes the splashed herb juice on her face and says in disbelief, "How could the furnace explode? My alchemy technique is clearly correct." Moreover, she just used the same technique to refine a furnace. Qi Huang comes over and sees her dusty appearance. He laughs gloatingly. "Idiot, that's because your alchemy furnace is too inferior. The spiritual power condensed and released in an instant is 100 times stronger than that of ordinary alchemy. How could this kind of broken alchemy furnace withstand it? Fortunately, this is only a 4th-grade elixir. If the level of the elixir was a little higher, wouldn't you be directly injured by the explosion?" Saying that, he immediately tugs at Mu Yan's clothes excitedly. "Let's go. This sage has long been displeased with this broken alchemy furnace. Let's hurry and buy a top-grade alchemy furnace. Song Cloud City is the most prosperous town in Song Blue World, and the Treasure Pill Pavilion in Song Cloud City is the largest shop selling alchemy artifacts. As soon as Mu Yin enters the Treasure Pavilion and sees the prices of some furnaces, pestles, and other items, she gasps. Most of these furnaces are priced in high-grade crystal stones. Mu Yin is about to leave the store, but suddenly feels as if her hands and feet are entangled by some kind of power. Then, she is forced to stretch out her hand and grab a purple gold alchemy furnace at the top of the shelf. This customer, please don't touch it. The shopkeeper rushes over, his face full of nervousness. This purple gold alchemy furnace is a 7th-grade alchemy furnace made by Senior Inshio. You can't touch it at will before you decide to buy it. Do you want to buy it? Mu Yin glances at the original price on the shelf, the corners of her mouth twitching. Not buying. Not buying. What a joke. That's tens of thousands of high-grade crystals. It's equivalent to tens of billions of low-grade crystal stones. How could she afford it? With her current net worth, she can barely afford to buy a 5th-grade alchemy furnace at the bottom of the shelf. The shopkeeper is flustered and exasperated. Since you don't want to buy it, why don't you put the purple gold alchemy furnace back? Mu Yin. She really wanted to let it go. But the damn Qi Huang had actually directly controlled her hands and feet, causing her to hold onto the purple gold elixir furnace tightly, unable to let go. Qi Huang, you're courting death. Mayan angrily curses in her heart. This furnace needs a whole 70,000 high-grade crystals. Even if I sell you, I still can't afford it. I don't care. Qi Huang coldly snorted. What kind of status does this sovereign have? Placing a mere 7th-grade alchemy furnace in this space is already very degrading. Yet you actually want to buy something even worse. Jun Mayan, I'm warning you. If you dare to put in a bad alchemy furnace again, this sage will throw them all out. The veins on Mu Yan's forehead bulge. That damn child Qi Huang. He was really capable of doing such a thing. Otherwise, Mu Yin wouldn't be so shabby every time, even though she clearly had space. Sometimes she couldn't even find a change of clothes. The shopkeeper saw that she couldn't afford to pay and still wanted to occupy the shop. His face darkened, and he hurriedly rushed forward to snatch the alchemy furnace back. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.